maritime sector from volume to vision. We have the presence of Honorable Minister, Industries, Skill Development and Technical Education, Government of Odisha, Shri Sampath Chandra Swai as the Honorable Chief Guest. As a guest of honor, we have the privilege of having Honorable Member of Parliament, Lok Sabha, Dr. Bibhu Prasad Tarai, esteemed Shri Hemant Sharma, Additional Chief Secretary, Industries Department, Government of Odisha, and Chairman, EPICOL, Srimati Usha Padhi, Principal Secretary, Housing and Urban Development, Commerce and Transport, will be joining us shortly, and the head of the host team, esteemed Chairman PPA, Shri P.L. Haranath, and esteemed Deputy Chairman in Charge, Captain A.C. Sahu. May I request the dignitaries to please join us on stage. Can we have a round of applause for the dignitaries whose presence is making this day bright and beautiful for the host team. Ladies and gentlemen, for this wonderful initiative and guests on dais, can we have a bigger round of applause, everyone? Please give it up. At this family, we always believe in preserving culture and tradition. So we would like to start this day with ceremonial lamp lighting. May I request Honorable Chief Guest and all dignitaries to light the ceremonial lamp and officially inaugurate India Maritime Week 2025 Promotional Roadshow, Bhubaneswar. It's a big day for Odisha to be hosting India Maritime Week 2025 Promotional Roadshow, and the theme definitely is of immense importance. Navigating the shift of Indian maritime sector from volume to vision. We'll be having sessions, we'll be having panel discussions where experts with decades of experience and expertise will be sharing their thoughts, and certainly we'll go back home with ideas, know-hows, experiences that will make us unify in our actions and thoughts to take this industry to greater levels of success, which is the objective behind the promotional roadshow. Time for the formal inauguration of India Maritime Week 2025 Promotional Roadshow with ceremonial lamp lighting. Doing the honor, Honorable Minister, Government of Odisha, Shri Sampath Chandra Swai, Honorable Member of Parliament, Lok Sabha, Dr. Bibhu Prasad Tarai, esteemed ACS Industry and Chairman EPICOL, Shri Hemant Sharma, esteemed Chairman PPA, Shri P.L. Haranath, and esteemed Deputy Chairman in Charge, Padi Port Authority, Captain A.C. Sahu. May this day lead us to a brighter future. May our actions bring us more success and glory. Wishing the Lord to bless us with abundance of good luck and fortune for the nation and for the sector. Time for presentation of bouquets, which again is an age-old practice of the land. May I request esteemed Chairman, Shri P.L. Haranath ji, to present a bouquet of fresh flowers to our Honorable Chief Guest, Honorable Minister Shri Sampath Chandra Swai. The fragrance of the fresh flowers will remind the dignitaries of this day and our love for them. It's a bright sight on stage. As esteemed Chairman, PPA presenting bouquet to Honorable Minister Shri Sampath Chandra Swai and traditional Uttariya that speaks of the love and hospitality of the host team. May I request Shri P.L. Haranath to please also felicitate Honorable Member of Parliament, Dr. Bibhu Prasad Tarai, with traditional Angavastra and bouquet of fresh flowers. Thank you, sir. May I request esteemed Deputy Chairman in Charge, Captain A.C. Sahu, to please present Angavastra and bouquet to esteemed ACS Industry and Chairman EPICOL Shri Hemant Sharma ji, whose presence is making this day absolutely insightful. We look forward to hear his vision and mission for this sector as well. Then I request Traffic Manager Shri G. Edison to please join us on stage and present Angavastra and bouquet to esteemed Chairman Shri P.L. Haranath and esteemed Deputy Chairman in Charge, Captain A.C. Sahu. The day that starts this bright definitely speaks a lot about how insightful and inspiring it's going to be. Thank you, host team, for starting it with tons of love. and tokens of gratitude. To the dignitaries on stage, doing the honor, esteemed traffic manager, Shri G. Edison, presenting Angavastra and bouquet, to esteemed deputy chairman in charge, Captain A.C. Sahu. Thank you so much, host team, for doing the honor. Time for the formal welcome address. May I request Captain of the host team, esteemed Chairman PPA Shri P.L. Haranath, to please set the context and officially welcome everyone. Sir.
Jai Jagannath. Good morning to all of you. At the outset, I welcome the Honorable Minister for Industries, Government of Orissa, Shri Sampath Chandra Swainji, Honorable Member of Parliament Jagatsinghpur, Shri Vibhu Prasad Tarayji, Additional Chief Secretary, Shri Hemant Sharmaji, and his department, he is holding the important Department of Industries. He is very experienced hand at Government of Orissa. And I also welcome Srimati Usha Padiji, so not only Principal Secretary for Commerce and Transport, but CEO of the Orissa Maritime Board. Please join the stage. And my friend, Deputy Chairman in charge, Sri Alex Sahu, and all of the distinguished guests and officers from the ministry, as well as important stakeholders of Paradip Port. Today is a very important day for us because we are holding a road show for the Indian Maritime Week 2025, which is going to be held in October at Mumbai, by Minister of Port, Shipping and Waterways. This is one of the biggest maritime conclaves being held on the globe. And as we have been taught in schools, that the nations are separated by oceans, but actually the oceans join the nations. So today, in this maritime conclave, which is being held Indian Maritime Week, more than 100 maritime nations are participating. This is the biggest number in any maritime conclave on the globe. And about 200 international speakers are joining. 500 exhibitors are there. More than 1 lakh delegates will be participating in this 5-day event, which is being held at Mumbai. And this is basically a forum where the world maritime leaders can converge and then converse and coordinate and co-create the solutions for the maritime sector that is facing today. So, number of topics regarding the maritime will be discussed. All the maritime states will be participating, including the Orissa, which is a leading maritime state in India and have a huge prospects and huge hinterland. The topics like port modernization, capacity augmentation, green shipping, climate conscious sailing, modernization, shipbuilding, maritime insurance, finance, maritime security, a number of topics covering the maritime sector all the globe. So will be discussed in detail and solutions will be formed. And then in this particular maritime week, the ministry is planning to sign MOUs worth of more than 10 lakh crores, out of which Paradip Port is planning to sign MOUs more than 1 lakh crore itself. Paradip, 1/10 of the entire thing will be signed by Paradip Port itself. This is the biggest number we have. And when we talk about the maritime sector, and we see maritime sector for the last decade has been passing through various complexities. The first is the COVID pandemic, later on geopolitical tensions due to the wars, and the tariff restrictions recently imposed by the Trump. And all these have shackled the maritime sector and has pulled down the growth. Not only the maritime growth is directly related to the economy is getting slowed down. But despite that, the Indian maritime sector has shown resilience. It has grown by more than 4% in the last decade. In fact, the port capacity has doubled in the last decade. If you say 800 million tons was the entire major port capacity at the time, and 1500 was approximately the total capacity of the Indian ports. Both of them have doubled today, and we have handled 50% more cargo volumes, all Indian ports put together, including major and non-major, over the last decade. And Paradip port also has exhibited a growth of about more than 9% in the last 4 years. This is the highest among any Indian ports. And last consecutive years, and we have ranked as the number one in terms of cargo handling in 23-24 and 24-25. In 25-26 also, we are leading by substantial margin in the next major port, almost 3.5 million ton plus we are handling now. So we will be, I'm hopeful that we will be again ranking as the number one at the end of the financial year also. So as this entire credit goes to the various initiatives being taken by the government of India under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji. In fact, the Maritime, the Major Port Authority Act has boosted the economy, boosted the autonomy of the ports. Sagarmala has improved the capacity as well as the modernized the ports. And Gati Shakti has connected the hinterland in a big way. And the Maritime Vision 2030 and 2047 have provided a document and a pathway for us to pass. So the Honorable Prime Minister, as a part of capacity augmentation, has laid foundation stone for the 4 important projects worth of about 3,000 crores at Bhavanagar very recently in the last week. And this is a part of exercise of the Paradip port to modernize and augment its capacity in a big way in coming future. The Western Dock project, which has been designed for improving the draft of the port to 18.5 meters so that the biggest vessels, the large cape vessels can start calling on Paradip, is going to be completed 2 years ahead of the schedule. It was supposed to be completed by 28, but we will be completing it in 26. So this will provide the biggest draft on the east coast of 18.5 to almost about 2 big docks, which will enable the bigger vessels to call on, thereby reducing the logistic cost. Apart from that, as a part of National Hydrogen Mission, the Paradip port has been declared as one of the green hydrogen port hub, and we are developing a 4 million ton capacity exclusive green hydrogen jetty, and with all infrastructure required for that, and all the green hydrogen players who are being encouraged to set up their production units close to the Paradip by the government of Orissa, they can handle their cargo for export or bunkering purposes and from Paradip port. This is going to happen in next 2-3 years. This is the final stage of approval by the ministry. Apart from this, and you know that recently the Samudra Se Samruddhi Karikram, which was held at Bhavanagar by Honorable Prime Minister, where he has unveiled a big vision plan for maritime sector. In that, and MOUs have been signed by Paradip port with government of Orissa on 2 important aspects. The first one is the Bahuda port. The Paradip port plans to, Paradip port got 5,000 acres of land. Salt land has been allotted to the Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways by the government of India. And this land we wanted to utilize to develop a satellite port, a 14th major port which acts as a satellite port for Paradip port in collaboration with government of Orissa as well as Sagarmala Finance Corporation also. This MOU has been signed worth of about 21,500 crores. Apart from that, the shipbuilding, and is a very important subject. In fact, Honorable Prime Minister during his speech at Bhavanagar, he has told that shipbuilding industry is the mother of all industries because of the 2 aspects, because the kind of ancillary industries it will enable, and the steel industry, the IT industry, the heavy engineering industry, and the engines, pumps, then the insurance, the port infra, lot of industries will be developed as ancillary industries for shipbuilding. So it is the mother of all industries as told by the Honorable Prime Minister, that also the government of Orissa and Paradeep put together plans to develop in Kendrapara. We have requested, we are going to form an SPV. And in fact, it has exactly, if you want to reproduce the words, the Honorable Prime Minister has told that. So this is employment multiplier. Suppose if 10,000 employment is provided by the shipbuilding industry, and about another 60,000 employment, that means 6 times more than that, will be provided by the ancillary industries. So employment opportunities will be huge once the shipbuilding comes up. Today shipbuilding, we are ranked very, very low, and we plan to barge into at least up to 10th by 2030, within the 10 ranks of the world by 2030. And also we plan to have a cruise terminal at Puri, because Puri is a pilgrimage place. A large number of devotees and pilgrims visit there, and in fact the foreign visitors also will be interested to visit the Puri and Konark. So that's why, in fact, initially we thought of developing the cruise terminal at Paradeep, but Paradeep is yet to gain that status of a center for visiting. So that's why the Puri has been selected, and then I am very thankful to government of Orissa. They have come forward to give the piece of land for developing that cruise terminal, where all the devotees can use that cruise facilities available there. In fact, we don't have any cruise facility in the state government of Orissa, whereas some of the western states like Goa, Maharashtra and Karnataka and Kerala, they have. And we also have a huge potential and huge places for visiting. So this entire, today we are organizing this roadshow, which is a prelim event or a pre-event, and for this Indian Maritime Week. And this is being organized by the NAVIC cell. What is NAVIC cell? Is the Neel Earth Vision Implementation Committee. That is the implementation of the Blue Economy document, and given by the government of India. And the ministry has formed a number of committees for implementation of that. And incidentally, myself is the chairman of 2 committees, one on IT and the second on the traffic NAVIC cells. And these 2 cells put together today we are organizing. In fact, as a part of our committee, and we have deliberated one important thing. One is different ports in the country now today take different number of documents and for doing business with them. And these documents numbers are different, and the documents categories are different. Almost 150 to 200 documents are taken at by the various ports, and for handling one vessel. So this is a huge, and number of these documents are repetitive in nature. They are supplied to immigration, same, they are supplied to PHO, same thing, again they supply to ports, they supply to customs repeatedly. So this our committee has examined, and we found that there is a lot of huge redundancies there and repetitiveness is there in documentation, and we have streamlined and pruned that, and we have recommended that about 60 to 70 documents depending on the type of the cargo are enough for all the major ports. We have implemented it. In fact, why I am telling this, the Honorable Prime Minister during his speech in that Bhavanagar has very clearly told that now we have come to one nation, one document, and this is a big achievement since it has been pronounced by Honorable Prime Minister at Bhavanagar event. And we are very happy for the work done by the committee on this. And now with this I will close here, and then only I request all of you, please register yourself for Indian Maritime Week, and which is a very important event for a maritime stakeholder, and it is a one-time event, and next event will be held only after 2 years. And also there are Sagar Ratna awards are being given to all the various terminals, ports, various categories are there, large number of categories awards are being given. So all the stakeholders who are engaged at Paradeep for giving various services, please register yourself and for this Sagar Ratna award, and we have been doing well and we are excelling in various aspects. I hope that many of us may get these awards, and it is a recognition at the international forum. And I also request you, please start the registration process from today itself, and also if you want to put up a stall there where you can showcase your important achievements or important technologies which you have adopted, SOPs, it is the best forum, nothing else as far as maritime port is concerned. So please welcome to this the biggest maritime conclave on the globe. With this I will close, and I will request all of you, today after this inaugural session there is 2 sessions are there, very important panel discussions. Please participate in that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, esteemed Chairman PPA. These powerful words set the context for how impactful the day ahead is going to be. Thank you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we acknowledge the presence of esteemed Principal Secretary, Housing and Urban Development, Commerce and Transport, and esteemed CEO, Odisha Maritime Board, Srimati Usha Padi. May I request esteemed Deputy Chairman in charge, Captain A.C. Sahu, to please present Angavastra and a bouquet of fresh flower to ma'am. Can we have a round of applause, please? With the presence of such eminent experts together on stage, the inaugural session becomes extremely vital for the day-long initiative by the host team. And ladies and gentlemen, coming up next is an extremely informative video on how gigantic this endeavor is going to be, India Maritime Week 2025. Let's have a look.
From the ancient trade winds to the digital corridors of today, the oceans have always connected nations, cultures, and opportunities. At the heart of this global network stands Mumbai, a vibrant maritime capital where ideas, innovation, and investments from around the world come together. India Maritime Week emerges as a truly global platform for maritime dialogue, where policymakers, industry leaders, and innovators from around the world come together to shape the future of the blue economy. In 2025, the conversations get bigger and smarter, with visionary forums, transformative collaborations, and a shared vision for sustainable growth across the global maritime sector. From the Global Maritime India Summit to the Green Maritime Day, Sagar Manthan, the Great Ocean Dialogue to Ports of the Future, the Global Maritime CEO Forum, the Women in Maritime CEO Conference, the Sagar Ratna Awards, India Maritime Heritage, the UNESCAP Conference, and the Maritime Digitalization and Future Tech Summit, to the Competitive Financing for Blue Economy Dialogue, and Maritime Corridors, unlocking trade through strategic connectivity. India Maritime Week 2025 brings together 12 concurrent events, shaping the entire spectrum of the maritime world. India Maritime Week 2025, uniting oceans, one maritime vision.
Now, the visual says it all. Can we have a loud round of applause for this great initiative? And may we expect everyone to participate and make it a grand success. With that happy thought, may I request esteemed Principal Secretary, Srimati Usha Padi ji, to please share her thoughts with the House. Ma'am.
Samastanko namaskar. Honorable Minister Sir, Honorable MP, my colleague ACS Industries, and another dear colleague Shri Harinathan, Chairperson, Paradeep Port Trust, the distinguished guest on the dais, Captain Sahu, captains from all the industries, the professionals from maritime industry, various officers who have come from different departments, and all the invitees. First of all, let me apologize for my delay. As a practicer, I decided to go to office first because 10:30 is something where, I mean, it's after office hours, so I went to office, and once you go to office, we tend to delay. So I'm extremely sorry for that. But I'm very glad and honored to be part of this entire roadshow. Last time when it had happened, I had just come back from Government of India and joined Government of Odisha. Somehow I couldn't attend the Indian Maritime Conference in Mumbai that time, but this time I will be there, and I would like to share some of the insight which will also make you excited. Last time, though I was not there, but we made sure that our participation was in full throttle. Our Honorable Minister also had gone at that time. And Odisha had got a first prize in the best stall and the participation. So this time too, we are going in a full-fledged manner. And I invite all of our partners in Odisha to join. I'm sure industry department and our industrial promotion department will also be part of it, and it will be in a full strength we would be attending that. It is not for just the show, because we understand Odisha, the emerging maritime state, can show its potential in a right earnest in that platform, which is, as Chairperson said, perhaps it's the biggest in the globe. When we talk about Paradip, one of the major ports having highest cargo handling, bulk cargo handling in the country, when it talks of the quantum, it reminds us about our vision for the future. So it is maybe now 150 MMTPA. They are planning for 500? Capacity. Yeah. Now when we discuss about Odisha's vision, it's not just Paradip, but there is a 575 kilometer of coastline. Maybe it is 575 opportunities. We have few ports coming up and few are operational. In Vision Odisha document, which we have clear-cut milestone, one by 2036 when we complete, Odisha completes 100 years of its formation, and 2047 when we coincide with the 100 years of independence with government of or for the country. We talk of enhancement of the ports, the capacity, modernization, as far as the ports are concerned. You know that two are there. I think the people may be representing those ports, Gopalpur and Dhamra. And Astarang and Suvarnareka are both are coming. We have many other plans. Now if you see the Odisha Maritime Board, which is the institutional mechanism which is already in place. For ease of doing business, every day and out, there have been lot of changes which are happening. So I'm sure that we are poised to go to that those milestones, 2036 and 47, where we have decided to enhance our capacity from maybe now 80 MTPA, I am talking of the non-major ports, and it will be 500 MTPA by 2047. Now we are only 7% of the country's cargo handling capacity, though we have huge potential, so we aspire to become 1/3 in the country. So this is as far as the ports are concerned. In that again, if you see the board which was there for the function or the event, they mention about volume to value. So it's not about just a volume which we are talking about 500 MMTPA or something, but it can also be having lot many things related to value addition. So the forum which represent on the dais today itself shows that it is not port as an individual or standalone industry. It is along with the other port-led industries, we stand together, and Odisha tries to bring many ports at the same time along with that industrial parks, manufacturing clusters, and we can link it to that slogan, which is not just a slogan, it will become the lifeblood of all of us, is the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So to have that port-led development is just not a slogan or just a cliché, but we are all together as a partners to make it happen. So again, when we talk of infrastructure, many people stop at port, and now the cruise terminal which they are talking, there are jetties which are coming up. There are many other things which can happen, and this is infrastructure needs to be enhanced, for which we are committed to. I think for industry department can also talk about their multimodal logistic park, and Paradeep is one of the shining example for that. So how we are going to enhance those things, that is very, very important. Again, when we say that ports not only stand alone model for us to have the port-led development, it is also how they are linked to the hinterland. So again, it's a holistic approach, whole of the government approach, where we'll have the rail, the road network, and also inland waterways coming together and making it possible. It is, they have different mode of transportation, have different advantages, and they have different challenges. Considering that, how we can bring those linkages with the port so that the logistic cost can become less and it can become more efficient. So one of the challenge in the entire sector, if we talk today, is about the high cost of the logistic. He just told about one nation, one document. That will bring down the compliance burden. So, I mean, to such an extent that monetization, if you do, that will bring down the cost to some extent. So if we say, I think India has like a double digit, it is like how you calculate, it depends on 13-14%, which is not at all acceptable. For your competence, you have to be, competitiveness, you have to have it in the single digits, which is at par with other countries. And it is not difficult. If you see the development around this country, there have been some places where it has happened. It is not that it is not possible, everywhere it is same. So it is possible. It's a low hanging fruit which is possible. So if you say, I mean, like India is like, they say it's a countries of country. So if you see, I mean, maybe maybe Maharashtra, maybe having equal development as Vietnam, as a country itself. The 5 of our state, I think Uttar Pradesh can compete with 5 of the European nations. So if the potential is there, the trust is there. If you have, I mean, I had the fortune of listening to Honorable Prime Minister in Bhavnagar the other day. So the way that they trust the industry, they think that the Samudra se Samruddhi is possible. I mean, the experiences of last 10 years, it has shown that we can do that, those things which can multiply the growth. So the shipbuilding, I mean, if the port and infrastructure part, then I'll also talk about shipbuilding. Shipbuilding we have never thought about. I mean, maybe 2 years back also it was not in news. I mean, it was not discussed. Now everywhere it is pushed because they have understood that earlier India had such a strong maritime culture, especially Odisha also claimed for that, where we used to do the shipbuilding within the country. And most of our trade used to happen on the ships which are, on the vessels which are built in the country. Now, I think it has been reduced to 5%. 95% we hire from outside. And it is said in the same Bhashan that around 6 lakhs crores per annum is given as a rental to people who are providing us the vessels. So if that is the amount of the money which is going out when we talk of Atmanirbhar Bharat, so just imagine that 6 lakhs crore coming inside the country and how many jobs it can create. He just mentioned that multiplier of job for the shipping industry is 1:6. Similarly, if you see the economic multiplier, it is more than 2 times. I mean, if you invest 100 crores, then you will immediately have the spinning off effect of 200 crores. So that is where it is. I mean, all of us who have been part of this, I think it's a very exciting time. Next few years, which is like always it is said by the economists, next 20-25 years are within us. We are the generation who have to contribute in this 20-25 years. That's a one-time opportunity for this country. It is not going to come in the entire civilization for second time. After that, we grow old and we will not be able to reach to the level which we want, and all the pessimistic views of trapping in the mid-level income will struck us. So I am sure that all of us sitting here have a huge responsibility and will try to do, and this Indian Maritime Week is one of the platform where all of us can come together and explore what are the possibilities, and we can take plunge. I mean, like instead of going just one step at a time, it can be a leap jumping. So that is what we are looking at. after ports and shipping, I would like to very briefly tell about the skill development, because all of us who are sitting here, I think 3 of us were included in the skill development part of it. Hemant ji was also there, I was there, and sir is skill minister, and he was also my minister for quite some time. I mean, I don't know whether he misses me or not. I miss you, sir. Always we thought that the industry and skill development has to be together. I think that the government of Odisha has now done. And I was just sitting on the dais, I was looking at the audience, sir. So you see very few female audience here. It doesn't mean that the sector doesn't have the potential, but it has not looked into it, maybe. So this part is, Sugandha is there, but other people are not there. I mean, I am, any women candidates here from any ports? Just, I am not seeing backside, any, from ports, not officers. Huh? So that, I mean, in ease of doing also, business also, there have been some changes which are coming now, already have come. But see, like, maybe it's a blue collar is maybe a little bit prohibitive, but it would never stop us to do the work within the safe environment. It doesn't stop. I mean, I'm not making a feminist point here. I'm making a point where there is a scope for the huge skill development. And our ITIs can be part of it. Our colleges can be, engineering colleges can be part of it. Our own institutions can be part of it. The skill development, short-term courses can be part of it. And I was told the seafarer after Philippines, we are the second largest, and we have the potential to beat the Philippines. They can, I mean, we can give their run for their money. And our, especially coastal communities, they are very proud and very resilient for these type of activities. So whether we can do that, I mean, one of the challenge where we see that, okay, there are requirement of the jobs, skilled people requirements are there, then this is one sector which can employ many, many more people. So that is one area. Again, Odisha has done extremely well. I am skill development, they have the MOU with ITS of Singapore. Singapore has brought some of the best skilling products, and their skilling certification is recognized across the globe. So they have done, the Maritime institution is also coming up. They have the second MOU, I think it has also been in the force. So I'm sure that that is one area, again, all of us can look into, where we can do industry-linked training programs, skilling programs, where we can get our youth engaged into it. And in that one part, maybe also we can see a lot of women candidates who are willing to work. They can also be there, because as it is said, it's a mother of all the industries, means it is not only about the industry which is like a braking. I mean, nowadays, I think even if you go to the cockpit and the cabin of anything, it doesn't look like anything mechanical. It is all electronic. I'm sure even Volvo, if you see bus, earlier buses are driven by somebody who has to be very masculine. It is not required now. Even aircraft can be flown because it is just all electronic and digital. So I'm sure that muscle power is not anymore required. It's a safety and security, and also the ecosystem which can hone the skills. And we can very well see take the benefit of the youth, whether it is female or male, for this industry. So with this, I'll once again communicate my conviction for this sector, and also I'll request all of you to be part of the Indian Maritime Week, which is from 27th to 31st we are doing it, and in a full-fledged manner, in a full in a whatever possible best way, you please be there, because this entire event is for pushing that event. But of course, our work will continue even after this. We will be available, and we will be discussing your ideas, and whatever support is required from the department on behalf of Government of Odisha, we'll extend those things. Once again, I'll thank everyone for giving me this opportunity, and I hope we all see you again in Mumbai during the event of Indian Maritime Week. Odisha government is taking a good space there, and our department being the nodal department. Otherwise, we are supported by industry, EPICOL, IDCOL, and we'll also be requesting FARD and maybe science and technology also for the sea coastal issues. So they will also be part of it, and if anybody is interested to be part of that, whatever Odisha Pavilion, please let us know. Our officers are sitting here. My additional secretary, Mr. Bidan Roy, is there. Just Bidan, he is the person if you can look into. And my port director is also here. So you can also tell if any support is required from us, we'll certainly consider. Thank you so much. Vande Utkala Janani, Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, ma'am. These overwhelming words will definitely give us the courage to gear up and give yet another impressive participation at India Maritime Week 2025. And hoping that next time we have a day like this, there'll be more happy and proud women participating in the other side of the hall. And with that happy thought, may I request esteemed ACS Industry and Chairman Epicology Hemant Sharma ji to share his thoughts with us. Sir.
Honorable Minister Industries and Skill Development Technical Education Shri Sampath Chand Swai ji, Honorable Member of Parliament from Jagatsinghpur Shri Vibhu Prasad Tarai ji, my colleague Usha Padhi, Mr. Harnad, Chairperson of Paradip Port Authority, Captain Sahu, officers from Paradip Port Authority, various departments of the state government, stakeholders of the vibrant port and commercial sector in Odisha who are present in large numbers here today on the auspicious event of the launching of the India Maritime Week in Odisha for the audience of Odisha. And what a strange coincidence it is, what a pleasant coincidence it is that the roadshow for India Maritime Week is being held at Odisha in Bhubaneswar in a week which itself is auspicious. It is the week of Navratri, and more importantly, some other developments have made this week so special for the life of each and every Indian, and you would certainly agree with me that the recent changes made by our Honorable Prime Minister in the GST regime, bringing the new age GST, reducing the taxes across all sectors, all products, goods categories, has impacted positively the life of each and every Indian family. We must thank our Honorable Prime Minister for this stupendous work, which actually is leading to not only what is called savings for the Indian family, but also growth of the Indian economy. Today, India's economy is growing at a phenomenal rate. In a world which is full of geopolitical stresses, in a world which is full of uncertainties, and in a world where not many countries are able to grow, India is a beacon of hope. And under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, the country today is driving itself to growth as well as it is driving the world to grow. There are very few countries in the world today which have been consistently growing at 7%, 6%, 8% in the last few years. Even during the COVID period, India was the only economy which actually contributed and continued to grow. Odisha itself is growing at a much faster rate than many other states. While India continues to grow at about 6 to 7 to 8%, Odisha's economy has been growing at 9 to 11% in the last few years. This year itself, we are slated to grow at about 11%, which would be the highest growth rate which Odisha has ever achieved in its history. Now, why is that so, and why are these factors important for the India Maritime Week? For a country to grow, trade and commerce is extremely important. For a developing country, its own market is important. India fortunately has a very large market. Therefore, you have companies from all over the world, industries from all over the world wanting to sell their products in India. So much so that some of the world leaders are now perturbed and they impose so much of heavy tariffs on India because we are a very, very large market. But the world is a bigger market. For this economy to continue to grow and for India to grow at a higher rate than what it has been doing in the past, it is important for us to plug into what is called global supply chains, global value chains. In today's world, nothing can be done only in one country alone. Everything is interlinked. I'll give you just one or two examples which will further elaborate this point, and which is where the importance of ports and importance of the maritime sector comes in. Imagine a plant, steel plant under construction at Angul. The iron ore will come later, the limestone will come later, coke will be imported at some other time. But when the steel plant is under construction, out of 100 equipments which are required, not less than 60 will have to be brought from other countries. Not that those equipment are not made in India, but today the supply chain works like this. A company in Germany called SMS will design it, will do some of the parts, they will be shipped to either China, where they will be further worked upon. Some of the components might actually come from Indonesia, some other components might come from USA, some components might come from Brazil, and finally, last number of components which will be made in India will all be brought to Angul. This is global supply chain, global value chain. To plug into this global value chain, it is extremely important to have a very vibrant, functional, efficient maritime sector. Maritime sector word generally means a network of ports, ports connected to the hinterland and ports connected to the outer world. It is not possible for a port to be a good port unless it is connected to the hinterland. Imagine if Paradip does not have a rail or road network, can it handle 150 million tons? You can bring 150 million tons, but how will you actually take it inside the country? Similarly, a port cannot function unless it is efficiently connected by way of services, global services, financial services, documentation services, export-import related documentation services, insurance activities. So a port is a highly vibrant segment of the economy. For an economy to grow, it is important to plug into the global value chains, and therefore a efficient and capable and growing port sector is very important. Recognizing this, our government lays emphasis on development of ports. Today we have 3 functional ports, including Paradip, which today is the largest port in India in terms of cargo handling. And we have 2 ports, large ports under construction. We also have 2 captive ports under construction. And you would have heard the good news recently when the Honorable Prime Minister gave the state of Orissa 2 very large gifts in the port sector. Number 1, the Bahuda port, which would be set up at Bahuda in Ganjam district with Government of India assistance, which will be like a very large port, and PPA will play a big role there, including and as also the Government of Odisha. We also have been blessed by the Honorable Prime Minister with a ship building and ship repair and other such facilities close to Paradip in the district of Kendrapada. These 2 will add value, tremendous value to the port sector in Orissa and will further help us grow. Odisha's industry needs ports. The nature of our industry, mining industry, metallurgical industry, chemicals industry, petrochemicals industry, the growing textiles and technical textiles, apparel, garment industry, the volume of produce in Orissa is so high that it needs markets outside of India. While India is a big market, but our production is so high that we actually need markets outside of India. Today, all the 3 ports of Orissa taken together are able to serve about 60% of Odisha's port requirement. That is why Odisha's industry depends on Visakhapatnam port, on JNPT, on even Haldia, Kolkata and other such ports. With the development of ports inside Orissa and with the modernization and expansion of existing ports at Paradip, Gopalpur and Dhamra, much of the requirement of our own industry which will be served by our own ports. That will give us two results, 2 positive outcomes. One is that the cost of logistics which today our industries face in taking the goods to Visakhapatnam or JNPT or Mundra will come down. Secondly, ports itself, they themselves are thriving economies, and they create immense number of jobs. Therefore, new and new jobs will be created. So we are very excited about the industrial growth in Orissa, and we know that in order to accelerate the industrial growth of Odisha, port sector must grow simultaneously. The Odisha's industrial policy and Odisha's port policy together, if you analyze them, you will find that they speak with each other. They are complementary to each other. What is provided in the industrial policy is complemented by what is provided in the port policy, and that is why you find that many industries are attracted towards Orissa. Finally, while industries are about Orissa, ports are not restricted to Odisha's economy. A port of Orissa can actually serve landlocked regions of India, states like Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, even the entire northeast of India can actually be served by ports from Orissa, and that can open another level of opportunities both for the ports, port-related services, and also for the entrepreneurs of Orissa. This is something which is on the radar of the state government of Odisha, and if you look at the Viksit Odisha, Samruddh Odisha 2036-2047 roadmap, this is a very important and integral part of the planning which has been done by the state government of Odisha under the leadership of our Honorable Chief Minister Shri Mohan Charan Majhi. So today, friends, all of us have gathered here to learn about the India Maritime Week, upcoming India Maritime Week. Government of Odisha will certainly participate in this Maritime Week as a team. It is not just ports or industries alone. Ports have much larger impact on other segments of economy, other segments of the state's well-being. Therefore, the state government as a whole is participating. State of Orissa is participating with all the stakeholders, including ports, port service providers, shipping lines, industries, and of course, the service providers. I would request each one of you, those who are interested, to learn more about it. You can contact the nodal officers in Commerce and Transport Department, as my colleague Ushaji just mentioned, and also officers from IPCOL who would also be participating in a befitting manner. This particular event is important for us because not many people outside of Orissa know about the strengths of Orissa. So why Orissa participates in a big way in such events is so that it actually creates awareness. It creates awareness, and it also creates an active curiosity and active interest in further businesses for Odisha. Just to give an example, after the last year's Maritime Week, large number of companies who are now coming to India for shipbuilding, ship repair, and even ship breaking, they became interested in Orissa. And between the last Maritime Week and this Maritime Week, we have had 3 new investors who have taken approvals for shipbuilding, ship repair, as well as ship breaking, which is a very large, investment for a state like Orissa, which till now has not seen this kind of a development. More importantly, in such events, you will find technology companies, you will find service providers who are looking at growth. Now, in Western India, Gujarat, Maharashtra, they have, Maharashtra has about 40 ports. Gujarat has, I think, about 60 or so ports, 49 ports. We have 3 plus 3 plus 2, 8 ports. This is growth. In Gujarat, this 49 might become 50 or 51, but in Orissa, this 3 will become 10, 10 will become 15 in the next 10 to 20 years. This is what investors and industries are looking forward to. And therefore, India Maritime Week will provide us a great opportunity to showcase our strength, to showcase Odisha's potential, and to get more and more business for the interest of Orissa. With these words, I extend my gratitude to Paradip Port Authority for having taken this initiative to organize the launching ceremony of the India Maritime Week at Bhubaneswar in Odisha, and we'll all participate in large numbers. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Your thoughtful observations and matured words remind all of us that though we have come a long way, we shouldn't forget we still have a long way to go, and together we can build that Viksit Bharat, that is the dream of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, and the port sector has a big role to play. Thank you so much. Manibur Sansad Jagat Singhpur, Dr. Vibhu Prasad Tari Mohodem ko अनुरोध करिबे आजिर विशेष अवसर रे निजर वार्ता रखिबे सर.
इंडिया मैरिटाइम वीक 2025 अव्यवहित पूर्वर आज पारादीप पोर्ट अथॉरिटी आमर जे अध्यक्ष अच्छा पीएल हारानाथ नेतृत्व रे ये जो रोड शो टी अनुष्ठित होती आज आम गहन अच्छा मान्यवर शिल्प दक्षता विकास एवं वैषयिक शिक्षा मंत्री श्रद्धेय संपत चंद्र स्वाई महोदय आम गहन उपस्थित अच्छा आमर कॉमर्स एंड ट्रांसपोर्ट प्रिंसिपल सेक्रेटरी सम्मानीय उषा पाड़ी महोदय आमर एडिशनल सेक्रेटरी इंडस्ट्री सेक्रेटरी सम्मानीय हेमंत शर्मा महोदय आम संगे उपस्थित अच्छा पारादीप बंदर जड़े दक्ष प्रशासक अध्यक्ष जहाँ नेतृत्व रे समस्त भारत वर्ष रे आज पारादीप बंदर कार्गो हैंडलिंग सेक्टर रे नंबर 1 पोर्ट भाव में परिगणित होइचे. पीएल हारानाथ महोदय आम संगे उपस्थित अच्छा कैप्टन साहू महोदय एवं मो सामने आज विभिन्न बंदर आसी समस्त डिग्निटरी ऑफिसर्स माने एवं आमर राज्य सरकार विभिन्न डिपार्टमेंट रो समस्त ऑफिसर्स एवं पारादीप बंदर रो समस्त ऑफिसर्स कर्मचारी एवं सांबादिक बंधुगण गोटे कथा जे वर्तमान समग्र भारत वर्ष आमर प्रिय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी तांकर दूरदृष्टि संपन्न जो आभिमुख्य जे भारत वर्ष को एक विकसित राष्ट्र में परिणत करवा 2047 मसीहा सुधा से रोड मैप प्रस्तुत होछि एवं से विजन निया होछि एवं किभली भाव में समस्त प्राकृतिक संबल को ताकू सठिक बाटे विनियोग करा जाई भारत वर्ष को केवल अर्थनैतिक दृष्टिकोण एक समृद्धशाली देश रे परिणत करिवार आभिमुख्य आमर प्रधानमंत्री नहीं एथिरे किभली भाव में समग्र पृथ्वी रे विभिन्न क्षेत्र में भारत वर्ष केवल आत्मनिर्भर भारत वर्ष रे परिणत होब नहीं एवं विकसित राष्ट्र गुड़िक सहित समताल पाद मिसेकरी एवं नंबर 1 देश रे श्रेष्ठ भारत रे परिणत होब ये हूँ आभिमुख्य. आज समुद्र से समृद्धि ये जो कथा गला 20 तारीख रे गुजरात रो भावनगर रे सी विभिन्न प्रकल्प जो शिलान्यास कले से आम ओडिशा पई एक स्वर्णिम अध्याय से जोड़ी देले. गोटे कथा हूँ जे गंजाम बाहुडा ठारे 21,500 कोटी टंकार एक बृहत बंदर तैयारी करिवार शिलान्यास करागला एवं समग्र भारत वर्षर 13टी मेजर पोर्ट ट्रस्ट बा बृहत बंदर सहित ओडिशार आउ एक बृहत बंदर को एठी किभली भाव में प्रतिष्ठा करा दिवो सेथिपई योजना प्रस्तुत हैला. एवं आउ गोटे कथा हैला जे पारादीप बंदर निकटवर्ती अंचल रे केन्द्रापड़ा एवं पारादीप निकटवर्ती अंचल रे एक जहाज तैयारी कारखाना एठी प्रतिष्ठा हो एवं आज से सब को विचार को नेले प्रकृत रे एठी केंद्र सरकार आम प्रधानमंत्री नेतृत्व रे एठी भारत सरकार द्वारा तैयारी होतिबा बंदर एवं आमर बेसरकारी उद्योगपति मानक द्वारा अनेक बंदर प्रतिष्ठा करने ପାଇଁ योजना ହେଇଛି ଏବଂ ଓଡ଼ିଶାରେ जोटा सुवर्णरेखार कीर्तनिया ठारे अस्तरंग ठारे एक बंदर एवं ता सहित ये बाहुड़ा बंदर प्रतिष्ठा हम अतीत दिन में पारादीप गोपालपुर एवं धामरा ठारे बंदर प्रतिष्ठा ହେଇଛି ता सहित एठी केंद्र सरकार एवं राज्य सरकार मिलित उद्यम रे अनेक प्रकल्प किभली ओडिशार प्रतिष्ठा हबो ये केंद्र सरकार एवं राज्य सरकार प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ओडिशार मुख्यमंत्री मोहन चरण माझी नेतृत्व में मिलित उद्यम रे प्रकृत रे ये प्रकल्प गुड़िक करने ये जो कल्पना करा जायछि एवं ताकु कल्पना को रूप देवा वास्तवता वास्तव सत्य रे परिणत करने ये जो योजना कराई से प्रकृत रे कह जाउछि जो डबल इंजिन सरकार ये डबल इंजिन सरकार ये समस्त कथा को फलवती करबा एवं ओडिशार अर्थनीति के आगु को नबा एवं 2036 मसीहार एक समृद्ध ओडिशा बा विकसित ओडिशा एवं 2047 मसीहार भारत वर्ष को एक विकसित देश रे परिणत करिवार जो स्वप्न ये कथा प्रकृत रे मोदी जी क्षमता को आसीबा दिन से देखिथिले एवं जेतेबेले तैल विशोधनागार उद्घाटन कले 2016 मसीह से कही पूर्वोदय भारत उदय हम एवं ये पारादीप बंदर को भित्ति करी आज अनेक शिल्प प्रतिष्ठा एठी तैल विशोधनागार तो आरंभ करी एठी अनेक एठी नाप्ता काकर प्रोजेक्ट तो आरंभ करी अनेक शिल्प प्रतिष्ठा हम ये योजना प्रस्तुत होती ओडिशा सरकार द्वारा जो उत्कर्ष ओडिशा जरिया समग्र पृथ्वी एवं समग्र भारत वर्षर विभिन्न शिल्पपति माने एटी पुंजी निवेश करिबार जो आभिमुख्य देखैथिले आज अनेक ता वास्तव रूप नहीं सारी एवं आज आम पारादीप बंदर अध्यक्ष जहाँ कहूथिले जे आसंता दिन जो मेरीटाइम वीक पालन करा जिवो सेतेबेले पारादीप बंदर मध्य एमयू स्वाक्षर करिवो पाखापाखि लक्ष कोटी टंकार पुंजी निवेश ये पारादीप बंदर सांगरे जोड़ी हबो तेणु एठी मोटामोटी भाव में कहिले प्रकृत रे जे आमर अतीत दिन रे ओडिशार जो नौ वाणिज्य परंपरा थिला आज प्रिय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी नेतृत्व रे सेई भाव रे पुणी किभली भाव में व्यवसाय समग्र पृथ्वी रे ग्लोबाली आमे सारा पृथ्वी रे नंबर 1 देश रे परिणत होबा विभिन्न आमदानी रप्तानी क्षेत्र रे आमर ये नौ वाणिज्य परंपरा माध्यम रे आमे किभली भाव में आगु को जीवा आमे जदि आज देखिबा प्रकृति रे चाइना ठारू आमे द्वितीय नंबर रे वर्तमान अछि आमदानी क्षेत्र रे आमे 2.7% रे थिला बेले चाइना 4.1% रे अछि तेणु चाइना को टॉपिक आमको आगु को जीवा पाई वर्तमान प्रधानमंत्री जो स्वप्न देखिचंती आमको ताको साकार रूप देवा को हबो तेणु शिपिंग रो कथा हो ट्रांसपोर्टिंग रो कथा हो इनलैंड वाटरवे रो कथा हो इनलैंड वाटरवेज रे ए पर्यंत गला वर्ष पर्यंत मात्र 26 टी इनलैंड वाटरवे माध्यम रे आमर ये जो कार्गो हैंडलिंग गुड़िक बा पण्य कारबार होउथिला किंतु केंद्र सरकार वर्तमान पाखापाखि 76 इनलैंड वाटरवेज माध्यम रे ये पण्य कारबार करिवार योजना रखिछि ओडिशा रे मात्र 3 इनलैंड वाटरवेज कार्यक्षम अछि एवं आउरी 3 इनलैंड वाटरवेज रो कार्यक्षम करिया पई केंद्र सरकार निष्पत्ति करिछि एवं पारादीप ठू तालचेर पर्यंत ये जो कोयला परिवहन कार्य मध्य चलिबो ये केंद्र सरकार ये कथा को निष्पत्ति करिछि तेणु सामग्रिक भाव में आज प्रकृत रे देखिले जे समुद्र जात पदार्थ गुड़िक जरिया रे आमर किभली भाव में आमर एक्सपोर्ट अधिका हो पारिबो एवं विदेशी पुंजी की आम देश को आनिके आम भारत वर्ष को विकसित करिबा ये मोटा मोटी भाव में भारत वर्षर अर्थनीति की देखिले जेमती आमर हेमंत शर्मा कहते आम जीडीपी रे बहुत आगु को जाइए केंद्र जो भली भाव में जीडीपी कथा अच्छी ओडिशा सरकार जीडीपी 8.8% रु 11% पर्यंत जाइए एवं कोरोना महामारी संकट समय आमर जीडीपी जमा कमी नहीं एवं भारतर अर्थनीति रे वर्तमान जो भली भाव में समग्र पृथ्वी रे अन्य विकसित राष्ट्र सहित अमेरिका रूसिया फ्रांस जर्मन जापान या सहित समताल आम आगु को जावा एवं चतुर्थ बृहत अर्थनीतिर देश भाव में भारत को नेला बेले किंतु पर कैपिटा इनकम बा मुंड पिछा आय वर्तमान भारत वर्षर किभली भाव में अधिका हम तेणु प्रति परिवार को किभली भाव में स्वावलंबी करा जिवो सेथिपई प्रति सेक्टर को वर्तमान लोकंक जरिया रे ताकू पहुंचा जाई पारिबो एवं आंतर्जातिक स्तर रे आम भारत वर्ष को आम समताल रे आम आगु को नवा सेथिपई योजना प्रस्तुत करा जाउची सेथिरे ये जो मेरीटाइम एक्टिविटी आमर विभिन्न बंदर जरिया रे प्रकृत रे देखिछि जे आमर जहाज चलाचल मंत्री जे सर्बानंद सोनोवाल यही मात्र 6 मास भितरे 5टी बिल पास करैचंती पार्लियामेंट रे एवं जहा फल भारत सरकार ये योजना गुड़ी को कार्यकारी करने सहज हम तेणु ये दृष्टिकोण आमे ये विभिन्न संक्रांत आमर ओडिशार एमपी माने आमे मध्य शिपिंग मिनिस्टर संगे एकाठी होइचु एठी धर्मेंद्र प्रधान को आरंभ करी आमर जो ओडिशार केंद्र मंत्री अछंती आमे मिलित भाव में आलोचना आम सहित से करिसेंती एवं ओडिशार किभली मेरीटाइम एक्टिविटी बढ़िबो ये संक्रांत योजना प्रस्तुत होती आगामी भविष्य में गोटे योजना अच्छी जे पारादीप रे एक मेरीटाइम यूनिवर्सिटी प्रतिष्ठा करिवार योजना अच्छी तेणु से ये समस्त प्रस्तुति विभिन्न भारत सरकार विभिन्न डिपार्टमेंट जरिया विभिन्न शिल्प ठू आरंभ कर विभिन्न विभाग को चलचंचल करवा सेथिपाई जो दायित्व प्रधानमंत्री विभिन्न मंत्री मान को देई थांती सेथिरे सर्बानंद सोनोवाल प्रकृत रे जहाज चलाचल मंत्री भाव में ये समस्त दायित्व को लेकर सही अनुसार से तांकर विभिन्न योजना प्रस्तुत करिसेंती एवं प्रधानमंत्री अनुमोदन पर ये विभिन्न कार्यक्रम शिलान्यास होची एवं जोठी ये शिलान्यास होला पर ये प्रोजेक्ट गुड़िक सरुची ताको प्रकृत में काम लगाउछंती तेणु से दृष्टिकोण आज समग्र भारत वर्षर मेरीटाइम एक्टिविटी बा मेरीटाइम वीक पालन करने पूर्व ये जो रोड शो अनुष्ठित होती आम पारादीप पोर्ट अथॉरिटी चेयरमैन पीएल हरानाथ नेतृत्व में मुझे आउ थे विशेष धन्यवाद दूची एवं ओडिशा सरकार तरफ आज जे मान्यवर मंत्री अच्छंती एवं विभागीय सचिव अच्छंती ओडिशा सरकार तरफ समस्त सहायता जोगे दबा एवं समन्वय रक्षा करी ओडिशार अर्थनैतिक प्रगति के आगु को नवापाई जो प्रतिश्रुति देइचंती सेथिपाई मु सेमान को धन्यवाद दूची आपण माने ये रोड शो को आज सक्सेसफुल करिथिबारु समस्त उपस्थित रही आपण मान को धन्यवाद दे मोर वक्तव्य संकुच।
धन्यवाद माननीय सांसद डॉक्टर विभू प्रसाद तरे महोदय आपणकर सशक्त शब्द निश्चित भाव में विकसित ओडिशा रे निजर योगदान देवाई आम समस्त को प्रेरणा देव विथ दैट गुड थॉट मे आई रिक्वेस्ट our honorable chief guest honorable minister industry skill development and technical education Shri Sampath Chandra Swain to please address the house sir.
जय जगन्नाथ नमस्कार Honorable Member of Parliament Dr. Vibhu Prasad Tarai ji, Principal Secretary Commerce and Transport Department Srimati Usha Padhi Madam, Chairman Paradip Port Authority CPL Harnath ji, Captain A.K. Sahu ji, distinguished dignitaries, industry leaders, and friends from the media. It is an honor to address at the thematic roadshow as a prelude to the India Maritime Week 2025, a platform that embodies our nation's ambition to enter its maritime Amritkal by 2047, guided by the Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. India is set to emerge as a global maritime superpower that is sustainable, technologically advanced, socially inclusive, and that has a future-ready workforce. There is a scope for an investment opportunity of nearly about rupees 1 trillion across green shipping, port infrastructure, and maritime services. There would be new shipyards, state-of-the-art ports, and global capital converging on a sector poised to create millions of jobs and stimulate growth all along our coastline. Sustainability stands at the heart of this transformation. India is advancing in green maritime corridors, enabling green fuel bunkering, and accelerating the deployment of zero-emission vehicle at our ports. These initiatives align with international climate goals and reaffirm our resolve to grow without compromising the health of our oceans. At the same time, we are expanding world-class infrastructure with the aim of raising port capacity by 2047. Mega ports, modernized harbors, and expanded network of inland waterways will reduce logistic costs and strengthen our global competitiveness, supported by the Sagarmala and PM Gati Shakti programs. India is working to position itself among the world's top 5 shipbuilding nations while securing a 20% share of global ship recycling. These ambitions are supported by a modern legal framework aligned to international standards, ensuring greater transparency and strengthening investor confidence. Here in Odisha, we are also prioritizing the expansion of maritime manufacturing. Technology and digitalization will define the ports of tomorrow. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the National Maritime Single Window are streamlining trade and port operations. Innovation leads to overall competitiveness of our maritime sector. The blue economy provides vast opportunities in fisheries, aquaculture, renewable energy, and coastal tourism. Our vision is inclusive and people-centered. Initiatives such as Women in Maritime and the CEO conference are ensuring that coastal communities and women professionals are key participants in the growth story. Under the visionary leadership, Honorable Chief Minister Sri Mohan Charan Majhi ji, Odisha is also a major stakeholder to contributing to this national mission. Under the Port Policy 2022, we are expanding capacity and attracting private investment for new non-major ports or greenfield projects at Astaranga and Subarnarekha. While strengthening established ports such as Paradip, Dhamara and Gopalpur, these ports together handled over 230 million metric ton of cargo this year, with Paradip Port Authority crossing a record 150.41 million metric ton, the highest among major Indian ports. Odisha Port Lead Development model is now a global benchmark at Paradip. 5 major industrial projects have been launched with investment exceeding rupees 19,000 crore, including 2 iron ore pellet plant, a COIT terminal, a POL terminal, and a multimodal logistic park, expected to generate over 10,000 direct jobs and foster ancillary industries. As our state strives towards Viksit Odisha by 2036, we are strengthening the industry-academia linkage, upgrading our technical institution, and creating an industry-ready workforce. Also, we are encouraging women's participation at every stage of the maritime supply chain to make the process inclusive. Through Sagarmala and associated projects, multimodal transport corridors and logistic parks are being developed to cut cost of improve access. Plans for shipbuilding and repair hubs will serve domestic and international fleets. And our Maritime Board provides single window clearance to accelerated investment. This board is driving the next wave of modernization, upgrading ports with deeper berths, automated logistic and integrated supply chain management. Recently, rupees 21,500 crore initiative at Bahuda was announced, India's new major port at Ganjam, which along with transformative projects at Paradip promise to catalyze the state's infrastructure backbone, unlock cross-border trade and new industrial corridor. These efforts, supported by our logistic policy 2022 and fishery policies 2015, encourage sustainable growth, innovation and local employment across the coastal economy. The Maritime Amritkal vision is expected to draw more than 80 lakh crore in investment and create over 1.5 crore jobs. By expanding capacity, integrating waterways and promoting green shipping, India will lower logistic costs, strengthen its global standing and deliver inclusive growth opportunities to millions. Together with industry, investors and our vibrant coastal communities, we will unlock the full potential of our oceans and steer India confidently towards a future of sustainable prosperity. I would like to thank the Paradip Port Authority for organizing such an informative and engaging thematic roadshow that has brought all key stakeholder under one roof. एवं आज एठी पार्टिसिपेट करिथिबा समस्त इंडस्ट्री लीडर स्टेक होल्डर समस्त को धन्यवाद दउची एवं शिपिंग मिनिस्ट्री तरफरु ए जो आयोजन करा जाउची निश्चित भाबरे इंडियन मेरीटाइम वीक आम ओडिशा पाई मध्ये एक गर्वर विषय सौभाग्यर विषय जेतेबेले आमे उत्कर्ष ओडिशा मेक इन ओडिशा कनक्लेव आयोजन करिथिलु सेठी आमर यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी योगदान से कनक्लेव को ऐतिहासिक एवं भव्य करिथिला। आपण माने समस्त जानिथिबे से कनक्लेव ओडिशार जेते कनक्लेव हिच सबुठारु भल कनक्लेव एवं से कनक्लेव रे सबुठारु अधिक इन्वेस्टमेंट ओडिशा को ही आसीथिला एवं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जो ग्यारंटी देइथिले मोदी ग्यारंटी जे एही समय है सही समय है यही समय होची प्रकृत समय ओडिशा रे निवेश करंतु सफल निश्चिंत भाबरे पाइबे एवं याकू लक्ष्य करी आपण मान देखिबे ये 14 मास भितरे ओडिशा रे विभिन्न प्रकार जो इन्वेस्टमेंट आसीथिला ताकू ग्राउंडिंग करिवारे 2 लाख रु ऊर्ध्व कोटी टंका आम सरकार सफल होईछि एवं मान्यवर मुख्यमंत्री दूरदृष्टि संपन्न नेतृत्व रे किभली भाबरे ओडिशा रे आहुरी अधिक पोर्ट हबो एबे मान्यवर प्रधानमंत्री घोषणा कले एवं आमर कॉमर्स एंड ट्रांसपोर्ट डिपार्टमेंट रो आमर प्रिंसिपल सेक्रेटरी उषा मैडम आ पूर्व आपण मानकु भी कहिले आमर इंडस्ट्री विभाग रो एसीएस हेमंत शर्मा थिले सी भी आपण मानकु विस्तृत भाबरे कहिले ओडिशा रे जो संभावना अछि आमे पोर्ट क्षेत्र रे बहुत आगु जाई परिबा अन्य स्टेट गोटे सैचुरेशन अवस्था को गला बेले आम पाखे संभावना अच्छी आ ओडिशा रे जो संभावना अच्छी से संभावना को आमे वास्तवता पूरण करबा पई निश्चित भाव में जो मुंबई रे आयोजन हबो इंडियन मेरीटाइम वीक 2025 निश्चित भाव में ये आमको सहायक हबो सेति पई मु धन्यवाद कृतज्ञता ज्ञापन करुच्ची एवं आमे निश्चित भाव में जो लक्ष्य रही 1 लाख करोड़ रु इन्वेस्टमेंट ओडिशा रे हबा पई हमर मैरीटाइम बेस इंडस्ट्री पोर्ट बेस इंडस्ट्री निश्चित भाव में आपण मान देखिबे ताठू अधिक भी आसीबो एबे डबल इंजिन सरकार रे ओडिशा को समस्ते गुरुत्व दउचंती ओडिशा रे किभली भाव में इन्वेस्टमेंट करिवे एवं ओडिशा रे जो संभावना अछि सेतिरु से माने किभली भाव में लाभ पाइबे महाप्रभु जगन्नाथ का आशीर्वाद रु जो मुंबई रे जो आयोजन हबो इंडियन मेरीटाइम वीक सेतिरे निश्चित भाव में ओडिशा ओडिशा को इन्वेस्टमेंट आनियारे आमे समस्ते सफल हवा एवं ओडिशा रे ए मैरीटाइम सेक्टर रे किभली भाबे आमे आहुरी उन्नति करि परिबा सेति पई आमे समस्तंकर प्रयास जारी रहू समस्त को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कृतज्ञता ज्ञापन करी मु मो वक्तव्य को सांग करछि धन्यवाद वंदे उत्कल जननी
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister Shri Sampath Chandra Swai, for those impressive words, for giving us a clear picture of the industrial growth of the state that is being praised nationwide. And on this Red Letter Day, we promise that under your able leadership, the maritime sector too will work hard, aim big, and give a praiseworthy participation in Bikasit Bharat. Thank you so much. On behalf of the host team, I request esteemed Chairman PPA Shri P.L. Harnathji to please present tokens of gratitude to guests on stage. This too is a very special parampara at Paradip Port Authority. May I request esteemed Chairman to present a token of gratitude to Honorable Minister, today's chief guest, Shri Sampath Chandra Swaiji. That's a beautiful silver filigree Jagannath, Balabhadra and Subhadra that speaks about the artistry, craftsmanship of Odia artists that we have a GI tag too for. Esteemed Chairman, presenting felicitation to Dr. Vibhu Prasad Tare and Shrimati Usha Padi. Esteemed ACS, Shri Hemant Sharma had to leave because of an urgent meeting. We will ensure this reaches his office. Thank you, esteemed Chairman, for doing the honor. And may I request esteemed Deputy Chairman in charge, Captain A.C. Sahu, to propose vote of thanks, please.
Jai Jagannath. It is honor and privilege for me to cast vote of thanks in this inaugural session of the road show for the Indian Maritime Week, going to be conducted in the last week of October at Mumbai. My heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest, Sri Sampath Chandra Swai, Minister of Industry, Skill Development and Technical Education, Government of Odisha. I am a heartfelt thanks to MP Jagat Singhpur, Dr. Vibhu Prasad Tare. Heartfelt thanks to Hemant Sharma ji, Additional Chief Secretary, Industry Department, Government of Odisha. Heartfelt thanks to Srimati Usha Padi, Principal Secretary, Commerce and Transport. And a sincere thanks to our head of our organization, under which guidance this road show is being conducted, the Chairman, Paradip Port Authority, C.P.L. Harnathji. I am a gratitude and heartfelt thank to the stakeholders present here from different industries, central government and state government officials, to this road show, this inaugural session, and I wish we make the Indian Maritime Week very success, and your participation in this Maritime Week, making this Maritime Week success. And I thank once again all the dignitaries, invitees, guests, ladies and gentlemen, the media person, for participating in this inauguration week, making this road show successful, as well as upcoming Indian Maritime Week very success. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Sahu. With this, we officially wind up the inaugural session. Let's break for tea and meet after 20 minutes. Thank you. Namaskar. Tea has been served at the ground floor. Please come back to your seats in 20 minutes so that we can start the first panel discussion of the day on time. Thank you. cargo and traffic operation, from volume to value. The session will have participation of Shri Shantanu Verma, Chief Shipping Services, Tata Steel, Shri Devkinandan, Senior Executive, VP Business Development and M&A, JSW Infrastructure Limited, Shri Subrata Tripathi, Chief Executive Officer, Ports Business, Adani Ports and SEZ Limited, and Shri G. Edison, Traffic Manager, PPA, as panelists, and the session will be moderated by Shri A.K. Bose, Advisor Traffic, PPA. May I request the moderator and the panelists to please take their seats on the dais. Can we have a round of applause for the gentlemen who will share their experience and expertise on driving efficiency in capacity growth in cargo and traffic operation. Welcome on stage, gentlemen. We look forward to having an absolutely insightful and gripping session ahead. It's not every day that we get to hear from gentlemen who have had decades in business, knows the best practice, and we look forward to learn from them. And may I request volunteers to please present bouquets of fresh flowers to the panelists and the moderator. The inaugural session had been absolutely enlightening, and we look forward to learn more from the panelists. A little energy would be great. Gentlemen, can we have a round of applause for the panelists? For a befitting theme, driving efficiency and capacity growth in cargo and traffic operation, from volume to value. And may I request the moderator, Shri A.K. Bose, to please take the session forward. Over to you, Shri Bose.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sri P.L. Harnath, Chairman, Paradip Port Authority. Distinguished panelist, Sri Subrata Tripathi, Sri Devkinandan, Sri Shantanu Verma, Sri Edison, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to moderate this session on driving efficiency and capacity growth in cargo and traffic operation from volume to value. We all know that global trade and logistics are undergoing a rapid transformation. Port terminals and logistic networks are no longer measured just by the volume they handle, but increasingly by the value they create in terms of efficiency, reliability, sustainability, and customer satisfaction. Today, we will explore that. If we see the global and India, the big picture, global maritime sector, after a volatile period, seaborne trade has regained steady momentum. 2024 closed at roughly 12.6 billion ton cargo, handling about 2.3% growth over 23, with UNCTAD projecting average growth of 2.4% per year for the year 2025 to 2029. And of course, the containerized trade will grow a little faster at a higher rate of 2.7%. The industry forecasts see 12.8 billion tons in 2025. But with tighter margins, higher service expectations, and pressure to decarbonize. The message is very clear: stable volumes rising with the rising performance bar. India's macro and port story. India, of course, economically we are growing very fast, targeting maybe $7 trillion by 2030 and $32 trillion by 2047 under Amrit Kal. Our ports have mirrored that ambition. Total traffic grew nearly threefold to 1,594 million metric ton in 2024, including, of course, major and non-major ports together. And this has grown in 2 decades with a CAGR of 5.74%. Non-major ports have been the faster growth driver compared to the major port counterparts. Capacity and demand outlook. Yes, India's port capacity stands nearly 2,761 million metric ton. Out of that, major ports having 1,681 and non-major ports having 1,080 million metric ton, which by 2030 we plan to grow up to 3,500 million metric ton to accommodate a traffic projection of around 2,200 million metric ton, which means today's efficiency levels will decide tomorrow's competitiveness. What's the driving value? Of course, PPP and private leadership, private terminals and non-major ports now handle more than 75% of India's total port traffic. We already have 52 PPP projects in operation and 81 are in pipeline. By 2030, the goal is 85% of major port cargo via PPP or captive berth versus 60% today. The landlord model is maturing and sharpening operational delivery. Importantly, major and non-major ports are not rivals but complementary. Non-major ports bring scale, deeper drafts, and rapid expansion, whereas major ports contribute institutional expertise, resilient infrastructure, and low-cost models. With this, I will not go into further details. I would just like to introduce our esteemed panelist. And just before that, I would just like to let me divide this topic and conversation into 3 themes. First is driving efficiency in cargo operation, that is reducing turnaround time and optimizing resources. Second, capacity growth beyond infrastructure, unlocking potential through smarter processes and integration. And third, shifting from volume to value, building a customer-centric, sustainable, and tech-driven ecosystem. So, for discussing this, I will start with a little introduction of our panelist. Maybe I would first request Sri Srupat Tripathi, who is a well-known figure. He needs no introduction to this audience. However, I would just like to mention he is now presently head port business and projects of Adani Ports. He brings over 3 decades of experience across government and corporate roles, especially in Indian Railways and ports, and has worked closely with Visakhapatnam, Paradip, Haldia, Dhamra, and other ports also. He has served in multiple capacities in Indian Railways as well as in Indian ports, also as Deputy Chairman and Chairman of Paradip Port. And over his career, he has specialized in port connectivity and PPP projects of railways and shipping ministries with extensive international exposure spanning across China, Singapore, and Europe. Over and above, we all know He is one of the best speaker most probably here. So I would request him to share his thoughts on this topic before, and thereafter we will go one after the other panelists. Thank you.
Ashish Babu, thank you so much. My dear younger brother Harnath ji, on the panel over here, Devki ji, Shantanu ji, Mr. Edison, Ashish Babu, of course, with whom my association goes back to lots of years. First and foremost, to all my colleagues in Paradip Port, it's homecoming for me. You know, it's like coming back home. So therefore, to all of you, a very, very warm greetings on my personal behalf. It's as if that we were in, crossing over from Bhutumunde, and, Chairman will understand, in the chaotic times when there were single lines, no Haridaspur Paradip, no berths, we were struggling. In those days, we dreamt and that Paradip would actually be the leading port of India. Some of my colleagues had a little were hesitant in sharing my personal dream, and I used to always assure them that you just have to wait for a while and to see that Paradip will become the epicenter for maritime excellence, which is not about volume, but about value. And I think that's what has been very beautifully kind of, introduced by Ashish ji today. How do you want it? Just speak for about 5 minutes and then you do a Q&A? How do you want the session to be?
So let us start with individual.
No, I have no presentation. I have no PPT because he said we will do a Q&A. I think doing a Q&A perhaps would be more, because, let me be, the opening session is already addressed. I don't go back to the cliche of what the maritime sector in India is, what opportunity it beholds. But for me, at this juncture of my personal journey and my professional journey, I think when we look at the maritime sector, we are looking at it we ought not to look at it in isolation. This is one sector whose opportunity and whose desire for growth and who can lead, if I were to use a cliche, is pregnant with opportunities to change the economic, social landscape of India at large. Now, why would I say that? Because it's not about just ports standing in isolation as terminals to handle cargo. They never were. And being a inheritor of a very proud, tradition of the Kalinga maritime tradition, just imagine what the erstwhile Kalinga Maritime did. They traded, but they also carried the culture of India to Southeast Asia. Whether it was the Cholas and the Pallavas at one point of time, at the northern eastern seaboard, it is understood that the maritime trade brought in a certain amount of surpluses to India, which means that post Anno Domini, and if you look at nearly 1700 years where India dominated in terms of the world economy, much of the surpluses were coming out of trading. Maritime also and become an intersection for cultural growth. If it was not for maritime trade in India, the discovery of science and mathematics in the world would be poorer, such as the transmission of the decimal system, the transmission of zero through the trading from the western part of India, and the growth of science. So, to me today, maritime sector is about the blue economy that exists in the world. And today, Ministry of Shipping, maritime sector ought not to restrict itself only to, we certainly have to drive efficiency in port. I joined Paradip Port at a time where the cliche was berths to wait for ships, not the other way around. And from the turnaround coming out of the growth of the PPP, and to many extent, I personally believe when the Honorable Minister and others were referring to the kind of economic climate existing in the world today, I personally feel it is a 1991 moment getting recreated. And what was the 1991 moment? It meant you to look inwards, look at your inner resilience, and undertake certain reforms in India which were extremely necessary at that point of time. And one of the products that came out was the public-private participation. The public-private participation changed the way economic landscape and also a certain social pattern. Think of what it has done to the telecom sector, the airline sector, the power that then you think of Udan and you say that the armed Nagari can fly. These were hitherto unknown. Likewise, the maritime sector, I think, has not been harnessed adequately. That it is a multiplier of employment, and that the Sagarmala and the Maritime Vision, MIV 2030, imagines it to be a change agent for industrial, port-led industrialization. I take a cue from what China did, in the late 80s, and the China story is, of course, it's close to about 4 decades of, intense sacrifice, working it out. But if you look at the last 2-3 decades, pre-20s, the kind of China becoming the factory of the world and governing the world supply chains all comes from the South China and the East China, where starting from, erstwhile, Hong Kong is a part of China today, but starting from Shenzhen, Guangzhou, going right up to Shanghai, and the way the ports were created and the way the port-led industrialization happened, and they were taking a cue from things that had happened, let's say in Rotterdam, things that had happened in Hamburg. So, maritime sector for me is about a blue economy, it's about efficiency, and when we talk about a value, though I'll just introduce, I can take in the questions. Let me see, because the PPP led to the emergence of non-major ports. Till about 2010, it was fashionable to call major and minor ports. Today, the word minor is very ill-representative. When Ashish Babu says that 75% of the cargo comes out from private terminals, just a distinction between the major and the non-major ports, which means close to 55% of India's cargo continues to be handled within the premises of the major ports. 45% is in the premises of the non-major ports. Go to the turn of the century, this was as low as less than 10%. And here, and I congratulate Chairman Paradeep because you're doing this session over here, please imagine that the concession agreement, in many ways, Odisha has been a leader. The concession agreement for Dhamra and Mundra were inked nearly at the same time in 1998. Now, what happens when you do a conversion of efficiency and from volume to value? If I were to take just 2 examples, one, Mundra. Mundra and Kandla put together, we should be proud of the fact that hitherto Kutch, a small district in, the largest district in India today, but a kind of a forlorn, forsaken area, between these 2 ports, nearly 20% of India's cargo is handled. And if I were to look at the Gulf, and for a moment look at the Gulf of Kutch and then put in Jamnagar, then I add an additional 150 million tons, which means out of the 1600 million tons that India does, 150, 200, 100, just look, nearly 350 million tons come out from a small geographical area. How do you drive economic growth over here? The part of imagining as to how, so Mundra is a story about a wild imagination, ability to translate that imagination into a certain kind of a efficiency, and looking at solutions which are purely out of the box. When you were ahead of your time, how was Mundra ahead of time? You built the largest coal terminal. Even today, the largest import coal terminal. When I say largest, is again not about volume. The fact that you have cranes which can give you the efficiencies and speeds at 75,000 TPH. And the fact that you can be linked by a conveyor to the power plant, which is a UMPP. What do? In 2007, you unleash a port, you unleash the energy security for India, you unleash and give a certain amount of power security to the northern states, and you also have a port. So what is the port's role? It's a part of a larger economic landscape where you have to fit in the, as you say, you have to get the dots connected properly. Look at the container terminal. Nearly, last year, India did about close to 24 million tons. Nearly 8.4 million tons comes out only from Mundra. And since it is close to the hinterlands of northwestern India, which is the manufacturing zone, the ability to get the DFC, an appendage of the DFC into the ports through a JV with Kandla, Mundra, RVNL together, and that you connect the last mile from Adipur to Mundra by a 60-kilometer railway line, which in 2005 was nearly 20 years ahead of its time. What do? You unleash economic forces. And today, Mundra gives employment to more than 20,000 people, if I were not to count the other operators which come in. 8.4, so all humility, I used to always say when I was in Ahmedabad driving the ports, nearly 1/3 of every container that visits India transits through Mundra. Now, it is a very proud statement to make, but for me, it was an opportunity that was getting unleashed. Let me take just one more example. I'll just deviate out since it was talked about container terminals. When we thought of Vizhinjam, and I was in part of the port, part of like Harnaji stood a part of many committees. I was then a part of a committee looking into where does India get its transshipment port. Today, the fact that nearly 60-70% of India's manufacturing cargo gets transshipped outside of India, flight of your revenue, flight of your capital, flight of your opportunities, and from the subcontinent also that what you could harness from the, Myanmar and Bangladesh zone, feeder services going out to Colombo. What was India's reply? Now here we didn't sit to think, look, this is a major port, this is a non-major port. This was something that India had to answer. So when Vizhinjam port, which is in Trivandrum, was being constructed, it went through multiple cycles of bidding. Nobody responded because it was thought it was a very audacious idea. Now every idea which is audacious is always ahead of its time. So when we thought of building a port at Vizhinjam, we had multiple things to encounter. A rough sea, an ability to get it going, and a geopolitical situation which was not conducive for India to build a transshipment port on its own. Here we didn't distinguish whether it is a state government or a central government, a major or non-major port. It's again, in all humility, I'll tell you, the concession was signed finally in 2014, and we encountered multiple cycles of trying to build it. We finally commissioned it officially last year when Honorable Prime Minister dedicated to the nation. But what has it done? It's India's first semi-automated port, which means we come to the class of technology that we are talking of. We are talking of ESG goals, and I'm sure Ashish ji has questions for that, and I'll quickly wind up in my last sentence. Vizhinjam today, just yesterday, handled its 500th vessel. In less than a year, 1.1 million TEUs, the fastest growing terminal in India, and perhaps one of the fastest growing terminals in the world. You have had the ULCVs, the ultra large container carriers. Just yesterday, a 17.1 meter vessel, MSC Verona, visited Vizhinjam, and at a 17.1 meter draft, and it predates another vessel, which is MSC Irina, which at 400 LOA with 25,000 plus TEUs. So it has changed the way India's transshipment will occur. So what is it about from volume to value? You contain your containers within India, and you give an opportunity for Indian MSME and trade to trade within India and reach out to the world. My last, which about blue economy I will tell you, is that blue economy and ports, along with shipping, and also an employment generator as a part of the MIV vision, and I want, though it is not a part of the ports to speak, but larger the Ministry of Shipping to talk, the ability of Indians to become part of the crew for the world. Today, if you are supplying, into the, when we were, going to US and all, in various H-1B visas, or we had the BPOs over here, the flavor of the season today is GCCs. And part of the MIV vision is to see that more than 20% of the crew of the world could come from India. To do that, you have to unleash a very large force. I'm not even talking about the Indian flags. We are quite short in Indian flags. As a result, we look into things like cabotage. Perhaps the sum and substance is we are at the threshold, and we are at such an inflection point today to talk of just a port and efficiency. We have done that. Ashish Babu, today, if you go to Mundra, if you go to the PSA terminal, JNPT, if you go to Vizhinjam, if you go to Vizag port, you go to Paradip port, and you compare them in their class across the world, you are there. It's no longer about efficiency. It's about converting on that threshold, on that inflection point, taking it ahead and saying that India's arrived on the space of maritime blue economy development. When we say blue economy, just look, 2.4 million kilometers, square kilometers is your EEZ. There, the kind of exploration and the critical mineral security that you do, it's going to be maritime driven. Explorations, it's going to be maritime driven. Crew, it's going to be maritime driven. Tourism, and the fact that India can attract, it's going to be maritime driven. So this is what is the aggregator and the multiplier from volume to value, where it becomes and touches every aspect of growth and port-led industrialization. If you want to compete in the world, port-led industrialization means our logistics costs, which continue. Of course, DIPPT has just issued saying that our logistics costs have come down from about 12% to about 10%. I have not studied the document in great detail to comment on that. It is diminishing, our chances improved. But if you want to become a very integral part of the world chain of value into the world supply chain, then port-led industrialization is the key. I'll pause over here. I'll take some questions over there. Thank you so much for the first session, kindly.
Thank you very much, Sri Tripathi. And in fact, we all appreciate that Vizhinjam today, after its start of operation, has already handled almost 1 million TEUs. And it's only with one shipping line, MSC. And MSC has already started shifting some of its mainline vessel calling from Colombo to Vizhinjam. And that gives us a real value picture for Indian growth. Now, I will request the next panelist, Sri Devki Nandan, who is he is one of the board of director of JSW Infrastructure. He also brings nearly 3 decades of experience across Asia and Europe, spanning port operations, investments, and policy advocacy. He has led growth at JSW Infrastructure since 2017 and previously held senior roles at APM Terminal, which is also a terminal to be noted in container handling in India today, in JNPA. So he is also, beyond the firm, he also serves as the president of Indian Private Ports and Terminal Association and is also the founding chairman of Indian Maritime Center, reflecting his industry leadership. So I request him to share his views.
Good afternoon, my dear Chairman, Paradip Port, senior officials from the state government and state government, and dear panelists, and of course my industry colleagues who are present here. I'm very delighted to be here and thankful to Paradip Port to call me here to speak about the, our economy. So in my opinion, any country's economies are driven by 2 fundamental factors, which is, one is macro, which is very big, very large trends, last for 10 to 15 years. Another is micro. Micros are like 2 years, 1 year, 3 years. So we see a lot of trouble nowadays, including the tariff and a lot of wars are going on across the world. These are micro fundamentals which will not last 1 or 2 years. And we as Indians, we can proudly say the macro fundamentals for India is very, very robust, and India is growing to grow very, very sharp, and we are one of the economy in the world who has such kind of a macro fundamentals. So we all should be proud of, and we should be thankful to our people who has done such a hard work. I'll give a few examples of this one, and these are OECD data. By 2050, in terms of purchasing power parity, China will be 20% of the entire world, India will be 15%, USA will be 12%, and we will be second largest in the world. Why I'm saying about purchasing power parity? Because port is a service sector, and purchasing power parity is when key fundamentals in having the EXIM business or even the local business. Similar consumer market, so India is like as of 2023, $3.4 trillion of inherent consumer market we have. And that's what our Prime Minister is also driving very hard, that use local, vocal for local, etc., and Atmanirbhar Bharat. This is part of this one itself. By 2028, it will be $4.6 trillion, and by 2030, it is $5.5 trillion. Means we are going to add almost $2.1 trillion in few years' time. Of this is our consumption market, and the port industry is very well required to have such kind of an industry market. Then the cargo volume in India, I think my colleagues already spoken, so I'll skip that. But Gujarat handles alone 38% of the cargo, Maharashtra 15%, Odisha is 13%. So there are a lot of growth scopes are there in other states except Tamil Nadu. And if we go to serve these kind of a growth which is required for India to be leader, market leader by 2050, there is a Amrit Kal vision has been formed by Government of India in Amrit Kal Vision 2047. By that, we need 10,000 metric ton capacity, and almost $1 trillion of investment is required in the port sector alone. But where is this investment going to come from? Who is going to spend this money? And the answer is the PPP projects actually. So the PPP is the answer for most of these things, and we see a lot of other investment has been driven in India. Almost 50,000 crore of investment through PPP has already come. And over a period of time, we are maturing in the PPP projects, and PPP plays a very, very big role. I will not go in details of the projects, but it is already there. It is already well known to the people. But one thing I certainly, want to say about that, where we are today in terms of maritime sector, we are now 4th largest economy in the world. But if I see the maritime parameters, in logistic performance index in the worldwide, we are ranked at 41. And timeliness of shipment, we rank number 35. And international shipment index, we rank 23. It means we are 3, 4, 5 economy in the world in various terms. But when we see it maritime, we are at 30, 35, 40, everywhere more than 20. It means the maritime sector has been not cope up what our economy has done. And now it is the time for all of us to really pick this, topic and accelerate in. And that's why our Prime Minister again and again is stressing in all variety of forms that maritime is mother industry, it generates 6 times jobs, etc. Because this is the sector which is lagging behind for so many years, and now it is the time. It is very, very crucial for our economy to really go ahead and take this sector and really do something drastically upwards direction in this one and positively. And of course, as I mentioned, PPP is the important part in this. And Mr. Bose has requested to speak about PPP, so I'll give a little bit more about this one. So why PPP is so important? Because it brings the private capital and deploys faster than the most of the government projects can do it. It rewards the risk and reward. It distributes very well in both the partners, and of course the faster project completion. And my colleague just now mentioned it can bring lot of innovation and technology in this sector, and good quality of manpower, and on top of this very aggressive marketing the PPP projects. If they are in private hands, they can do it. So it's a very good combination, and this combination drives the efficiency for India. That's why they are important. But I also must say, in terms of, since my dear colleague, my dear chairman is also there from Paradip Port, about the PPP projects in the major ports, and a lot of good work has been done, but there are few things we believe still are pending and need to be done. I have been discussing with ministry very, very regularly as part of my industry job. Almost every week I interact with the Ministry of Shipping people, secretary, joint secretary, etc. And I have been keep telling them that these are things which are required. So I will give a few examples. So recently there have been change in the Major Port Act, and there is a lot of transparency has been built into the new regulations. But there are certain places where the total cost to the customer is not visible during the bidding time. So I request maybe, sir, you can also drive this to the ministry to get this new regulation in this. And then a lot of PPP projects comes, which first goes to the ministry, get it approved, and then they started discussion through RFQ and RFP, and then changing them is very, very difficult task. My request would be, which I have been telling to ministry as well, first have a consultation, have all the issues rectified, and then bring the project. I think it will be much better PPP projects. And of course, then whenever we are planning a port project in PPP, we must also consider the road and rail evacuation along with this, because the capacity in the berth itself is not enough. We are actually servicing to the customer. We are in service industry. We must focus on the total cost of the customer and total efficiency. That's why we are so much behind in index, and these efforts can lead to increase in the index. One last point Mr. Bose has requested to speak about is the sustainability part of it. So I'm glad to say JSW Infrastructure in 2022 we have launched a sustainability linked bond, $400 million bond. It was very first time in our country which somebody has done that kind of a bond, and it was oversubscribed several times. So there is an inherent benefit of having sustainability. It is not that it has to be for compliance purpose, but it requires and it gives you a lot of strength. All the investors who are investing in you gives a lot of confidence to you, and it becomes very easy to raise the funds for your project if you are following these kind of sustainability. And little bit more in that one, in JSW Infrastructure, it is available on the website. There are 16 focus areas. It's not only about green, but it is a total management like water management, air management, all variety of things are there in that one. And we have a net neutrality target of 2050 that we will be carbon neutral. We are also disclosing in CDP disclosure. It is required by the global agencies. And recently we have got a Golden Peacock Award in London for our sustainability part. And from this year, we will be participating in Dow Jones Sustainability Index in US as well. So these are the few things which we have done. And I request all of you for your projects, whenever you are planning, please inbuild sustainability in your project. It is a great, opportunity for all of us as a country as well to show the world that we can do much faster than what America, what UK, Europe has done or is going to do it. So that's my all. And of course, last thing which I want to say is that we all going to leave a very good word for our children. We are all positive because India is doing one of the fastest and best economy in the world, and we should have that confidence. And we have to contribute in that very, very positively. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
As Mr. Devkinandan has already talked about sustainability, but maybe we will discuss the sustainability part a little further details with other panelists also. So, and in the next speaker will be Sri Shantanu Verma. He is Chief Procurement Logistic Tata Steel, responsible for all logistic contracts for Tata Steel India, all plants, rail, road, ports, shipping and warehousing. He also has over 3 decades of experience of Tata Steel since the early 90s. He has worked across inbound and outbound logistics, port operation, warehousing, network planning, logistic infrastructure development. He has also contributed to cross-functional performance programs with leading advisors. Today, he brings the cargo owner's lens on reliability, cost, and sustainability in multimodal movements. I request him to share his views first, and then we will have next round of discussion. Thank
you. Respected Chairman, Paradip Port, Advisor Shri Bose, and distinguished panelists on the stage, ladies and gentlemen. So, ports are lifeline of international trade and vital enablers for economic growth. Traditionally, port performance has been measured by the quantum of cargo handled, tons, TEUs, or ship calls. While this volume-centric approach has served well in the past, the evolving demands of global trade, supply chain resilience, and sustainability require a shift in focus. Modern ports must aim not just to move cargo, but to deliver greater value for shippers, for logistics partners, and for the wider economy. Driving efficiency in cargo and traffic operations. Efficiency is the foundation of competitiveness. A port that turns ships and trains around quickly creates value across the supply chain. The key levers include digitization and automation, berth productivity and turnaround, hinterland connectivity, data-driven decision-making, and global best practices. Secondly, building capacity for sustainable growth. As trade volume increases, ports must expand capacity not only in terms of infrastructure, but also operational resilience. The key enablers include infrastructure modernization, deeper draft, wider berths, and container yard expansion to accommodate larger vessels and higher traffic, mechanization and smart system deployment of automated cranes, RIF, FD tracking, multimodal integration. The other panelists have spoken about public-private partnerships. So, from volume to value. While efficiency and capacity are necessary, the future of port competitiveness lies in value creation. This involves a shift in perspective from being cargo handlers to become integrated logistics and supply chain partners. Ports need to provide value-added services, development of free trade zones, warehousing, cold chain facilities, and ship repair yards to capture more of logistics value chain. Customer centricity, offering differentiated services, faster clearances, and end-to-end logistics solutions that improve customer experience. Sustainability as a value, investing in renewable energy, electrified equipments, and green certification to reduce carbon footprint. So as we stand today, tomorrow at NSDT in Mumbai, there is a flagging off of 100 electric trucks, which will be plying within NSDT for the cargo movement. They will replace all the diesel requirements. So in conclusion, I would say the port sector stands at a critical inflection point. Growth can no longer be measured in volumes. The future will reward ports that can combine efficiency in operations, expansion in capacity, and deliver of value to all stakeholders. By embracing digitalization, sustainable practices, and integrated logistics solution, ports can transform mere gateways of trade to engines of economic value creation. The pathway ahead is clear. It is from volume to value. So while on this subject, I would also tell a little bit about Tata Steel. So Tata Steel's strategy is two-pronged: scale plus move up the value chain. Build scale capacity, especially in India, while enhancing product quality mix so that more revenue comes from premium value added to lower carbon steel. Simultaneously, it is investing in sustainability, backward integration, raw materials, efficiency, which not only lower costs but also help meet regulatory investor expectations. So we in Tata Steel today have a capacity, in India we have a capacity of about 20+ million tons. By 2030, Our capacity expansion plans are there to take it up to 40 million tons. So doubling the capacity in the next 5 years. And let me also tell this august audience here that all this expansion which is going to happen will happen in the state of Odisha. So Jamshedpur has got a mother plant capacity of about 11 million tons. But since the plant is in the heart of the city, no more expansion is possible. We started the Jamshedpur plant 100 years ago with a capacity of 1 million ton. Today we are at 11 million plus. So rest of the capacity expansion is going to happen at Kalinganagar phase 2, wherein the Kalinganagar plant, which is today at 8 million, it was 3 million to start with, it became 8 million this year, will go up to 13 million. The NINL, Neelanchal plant, will go up from 1 million to 5 million, and Meramandli plant will also expand. So the entire 20 million expansion is going to happen in Odisha. Thank you.
So our next speaker, next panelist is Sri Edison, who is really a calm, cool and composed traffic manager of #1 major port of the country. He has also more than 25 years of experience in port sector, who has worked in operation, commercial, container, railway, in Chennai port and Tuticorin port also, in addition to present posting, his present posting in Paradip. He is also the architect of One Nation, One Process document in the country. I request to share the government view on this particular topic. He will give us the overall government view on this particular topic. Thank you.
Chairman Paradip Port Authority, Advisor Traffic and other panelists on the stage and distinguished dignitaries of the stage, a warm good afternoon. I'll be just try to answer the queries that have been raised by my fellow panelists, particularly the challenges that needs to be looked into before reaching that 3 million trillion economy, and particularly the logistics sector. So I'd like to drive through a small presentation which will focus mostly on Navixel, which Chairman has already pointed out in his inaugural section. The presentations will be of 4 parts. The first 2 is something which we already know. I'll try to focus more on the third one, particularly the Navixel on traffic and cargo operations. As we know that the Indian coastline is 11,000 kilometers. We have 12 major ports and almost 270 non-major ports, out of which around 78 are working non-major ports. The total capacity of ports, both major and non-major put together, is 2,761 million metric ton, and the cargo that was handled was 1,594 million metric ton. And matching to MIV Vision 2030 and Amrit Kaal Vision 2047, it is expected that the capacity of the ports will grow from 2,800 million metric ton to around 3,500 by 2030 and 10,000 million metric by 2047. And the cargo that will be handled by both in major and non-major port will rise from 1,594 from the present to 7,000 million metric ton by 2047. And the major ports will grow from 854.9 million metric ton to 1,540 million metric ton by 2030 and 1,935 by 2047. This is just how the capacity of the port has been growing the last decade. There's another key performance indicators which our panelists has pointed out. So it is at present, all the ports put together, the average is 49.5 hours as a turnaround time for all major ports, and of course Paradip port is less than 40 hours. And coming to container turnaround time, the average is around 30 hours, and the JNPA does it in less than 24 hours. Same thing in terms of another key performance indicator, the OSBD. The average comes to around 18,304 tons, and Paradip of course is crossing 35,000 tons. And another important parameters for containers is the dwell time. As we can see that the average is reducing to, the export has come to almost 100 hours and import to 70 hours, and JNP is able to clock to 76 and 25. This is a capacity enhancement project which has already been covered in the opening section. This is another major projects which is coming in both at the eastern part as well as the western side. The major part I like to cover is whatever the questions and queries that were raised by the panelists. I hope this is the NavIxel is the answer to that. Somewhere in a year back, Ministry of Shipping constituted the NavIxel, which came, the main aim was to effectively execute and monitor the initiatives like MIV 2030 and Amrit Kal Vision of 2047, and to make the country at Viksit Bharat. Ministry has constituted Viksit Bharat Sankalp, which is called as VIBAS under Joint Secretary, and Neel Earth Vision Implementation Cell, otherwise shortly called NAVIC, under different port chairmanships. There are totally 23 cells constituted by the ministry. The main aim was to drive efficiency, capacity growth in ports, and major activities includes to come out with innovative ideas, to compare national and international best practices, to do a monitoring kind of thing, create SOPs across the ports, and coordinate with other government bodies. And out of 23 NavIxel, one particular important is the NavIxel number 12, which goes with the name of Traffic and Cargo Operations. It is headed by our Chairman PPA. In fact, Chairman PPA is heading two NavIxel. One is NavIxel number 12 and another is NavIx number 6, which is an IT field, which I think will be deliberated post-lunch. So, as a NavIxel, actually, we started with a very small 1 or 2 initiatives, but it has grown to more number of initiatives, and almost 19. So, what we actually do is, what it was done is to make an assessment of all the data, the current practices that are being done in the national ports as well as international port, to go for benchmarking, particularly the KPIs, the best practices that was involved, and to find out the gaps and challenges, and to recommend action plan. There are 19 interventions that were identified, out of which 9 has already been completed in the last 6 months, and another 10 interventions are ongoing to be completed in the next 6 months. The major thing, of course, the One Nation, One Document port process. The second was the key performance indicators, and the telescopic benefits that was given in terms of for the RSR route, to create a Bharat Global Ports Consortium, business development units at port level, target for major ports for traffic, particularly the KPIs, and the smart port analytic and reporting hub. 8th was the uniform templates for scale-up rates, joint working group with other ministries, particularly the railways, One Nation and One Port process also, and Indian Port Service Limited for coordinated effect, Coastal Inland Cargo Facilitation Center, JV between Shipping Corporation of India and Concor for a new container line, and to come out with the capacity, a new method of calculating the capacity of the ports, migration of tariff for existing PPP berths to market-based tariff, migration of tariff for port-owned berths to market-based tariff, promoting adoption of slurry transportation of iron ore through pipeline system supports, effective capacity of major ports and actual utilization, logistic cost index for India exim trade. So the first and foremost is the One Nation, One Document, which did find a mention in the Honorable Prime Minister recent speech also. So we will be surprised to know that after a lot of deliberations among all the traffic managers of different all the major ports and comparing with the non-major ports also, we managed to reduce it, particularly the related process, from 48 to 29 number of documents. And you'll be surprised to know that Paradip port is using only 13 documents out of that. And in terms of bulk cargo handling, it was suggested to reduce from 64 to 42. And even at present, Paradip port is using only 25. In fact, we reduced only with 2 documents, from 27 to 25. In fact, in the conference of traffic managers, the other traffic managers surprised that number 1 port was using the least number of documents. We had a lot of challenges in that, but in the end, we managed to come out with these suggestions and recommendation, which has been implemented in all the ports also. This is actually the first phase. The second phase will be trying to rope in the customs, which we are trying to reduce it. And another part of this is to go for 100% digital platform. Once we go for 100% digital platform, almost it will be, the physical documents will be almost nil, and more number of documents are expected to come down. The second is the key performance indicators. As it was pointed out, most of the key performance indicators are now volume based. So we have come out with more meaningful key performance indicators, taking into median, and we are working out on weightage based kind of indicators. This is one of the most important and successful initiatives which was taken. It is a telescopic benefit in freight rate for thermal coal going by the rail sea route. As one of the speaker pointed out, the logistic cost, which is expressed as a percentage of GDP, is one is considered to be highest. And one of the initiatives which was pointed out is the last mile connectivity, the cost of last mile connectivity. So this was successfully implemented from 1st of April this year. And the concept is very simple, that because as we know that railway freights, the first lap starts up to 100 and it goes incremental with 25 kilometers every slab. And when the first mile and the last mile is calculated separately, the cost was very high. And when it has been, now it has, both will be taken as one telescopic rate, and the cost has come down. And the savings have been around 300 to 400 rupees per ton. Then the next iteration was the Bharat Global Ports Consortium, which has been identified. The main aim is to enhance India's global maritime presence by collectively developing international port infrastructure and identify and execute global port projects, conduct feasibility studies, manage bidding and financial developments. And another major thing was that business development cell at port level, because as one of the speaker pointed out that customer specific approach is slightly missing in the port sector. So a separate vertical has been created under traffic managers, and this customer relationship will bring more marketing and promotion, business strategies, get the feedbacks, and even competition analysis. And we can rope in other technical experts, and this can be a market driven rates which will help on one hand to reduce our logistic cost, come out with more schemes. This is a statistical approach that from just being a volumetric based, we will be trying to work out other KPIs also, so to create more operational efficiencies. The third is the smart port analytic. Even though we collect the data, the collectors are in silo forms, and mostly Excel based reporting is there, and mostly manual insight is there, and the formats are not in different means and methods. So a separate reporting hub has been created, where as a one dashboard platform everything can be understood. It will be some kind of a centralized data hub, and it can serve as a marketing tool, and it can help in state of decision making, comprehensive and concise, multi-level analytic. And in the second phase, we are also trying to push in terms of AI-driven decision support, predictive intelligence, and seamless ecosystem, particularly integration with other API integration with other systems like NLP Marine, IceGate, Voice, and ULEAP. And it can be generated as an automated anomaly detection also, where the gap can be understood and analyzed. Standardization of scale of rates. As we know that scale of rate is there for each port, but there have been lots of feedbacks from different that when they transact with different ports, they find the different way of charges are there. What is one charge in one port is different from others, particularly the conditions and all. So an exercise was done to standardize it, and now it has been clearly identified into 4 distinct as the vessel related, cargo related, and terms and definitions and miscellaneous charges, which these formats have been now made unique in all the ports, and the ports are now working based on this formats. Next is as we know that the ports are going, but simultaneously there must be growth with other infrastructures also, like road, rail, and inland waterways, and other companies like Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Fertilizers, and Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. So the joint working groups have been formulated, one with Railway with Ministry of Port and Natural Gas, one with DPIIT, and Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, and each port has taken its responsibility. The first one was the One Nation, One Port document, but this is One Nation, One Port process, which is now ongoing. Still we are, because this is not, it's turning out to be not an easy job as what we did for One Nation, One document, because each port has its own characteristics, it has its own cargo profile and its own stakeholders. But still we are trying to push in, and we have a target, maybe in another 6 months we'll be able to complete this. And the expected outcomes is redundancy elimination, efficiency enhancement, customer focus, and system driven information flow. As you know that this we are divided into 2 parts, or rather 3 parts. One is the container cargo, one is the dry bulk cargo, and another liquid bulk cargo. Apart from that, it has been recommended to create another Indian Port Service Limited, which will be at an Indian apex level, which can coordinate all the strategic importance, which particularly with the lines and all the stakeholders, like it can be with shippers, lines, cruise India missions, common service provision like road, rail transport, and industrial logistic infra development, IT, investment promotion, customer service, and policy regulatory. It will be monitoring at the apex level. Then one more important thing is this coastal and inland cargo facilitation center. As we know that there is a target to improve more coastal based shipping also. So this is a framework that has been come out, and this will also be at an apex level. Then as one of the panelists has pointed out that we have limited number of shipping lines or domestic shipping lines. So this is one of the key indicators or an intervention which has been identified, that we can have a JV between SCI and Concor and form a new container line, calling for domestic as well as international trade. This is a policy for outbound, that is a normally called as captive policy. The last captive policy came in 2016. So now, keeping in mind the change in environment and new themes that is coming out. So a new policy is going to come out, and whatever redundancy is there and whatever shortcomings is there in the old policy, that will be addressed. Particularly keeping in mind the port dependent industry and the facility to allow for both captive and non-captive cargoes also. 15 is another important thing, that migration of tariff for existing PPP bus to market-based tariff. As we know that under the new modern concession agreement, which some of the new PPP terminals have come, they have more freedom in fixing of rates and other different terms and conditions. So naturally, it is not the old PPP operators have raised concern that a level playing field is not available to them. So the committee has now come out with some interactions and some recommendations as how this can be addressed. Similarly, for within the scale of rates, though we have become a major port after Major Port Authority Act has come, some freedom has been given because the TAMP is out, but still full kind of freedom has not come. Some regulatory is still, there is a limiting block to the ports itself. So the committee will now, NavicCell or rather they will come out with some more recommendations how within the port we can have a more better market based tariff can be fixed. This is almost a known thing that promoting pipeline technology, particularly for the iron ore handling, because as we can know that freight cost for slurry pipeline is only 0.8 rupees per ton per kilometer, whereas compared to railway of 2.1 and road is 3.5. And the 3 existing pipeline system is there, and 10 more has been identified to reduce the logistic cost. This is another major thing that capacity building. This is one of the stumbling block in most of the major ports. What it is, it was found that the present way of fixing is mostly based on infrastructure centric and operating conditions. And this calculation of static calculations, they do not reflect the operational realities, particularly like delays, queuing, tidal windows, equipment breakdowns, and they also miss dynamic factors like vessel bunching, manpower scheduling and evacuation rates, and other like yacht congestions impacting berth occupancy. This is totally, it's not taken into account, and this is given as a declared capacity more as a theoretical one rather than an effective capacity. And in this, the NavicCell has come out with an approach, is simulated based modeling approach, and this is being done in ports like Singapore, Rotterdam and Los Angeles, and VOC Paradip, VOC port is leading the, they'll be coming out with simulated modeling, and this will be tried in 4 pilot ports: Paradip Port, Dinadayal Kandla Port and JNPA. And this is expected to give a more practical capacity. The 18th is the effective capacity of major ports and actual utilization. So, as I said, the last one is the 19th one, which is the development of logistic cost index for Indian exim trade. As it was already pointed out to the panelists, that we don't really have a national level logistic kind of thing. Even the logistic cost also, which is worked out, there is like some people say it is 14% of GDP, some people say it is 9%. The problem, the concept is more in taking the factors into account. So similar situation exists in port sector also, particularly the shipping sector. So the NavicCell has come out with this intervention. These are the 19th interventions which identified by the NavicCell, out of which 9 has already been completed, and another 9 is still we expected to complete at various timeline that has been identified. So just to conclude, what we started with 1 or 2 initiatives, it has now come to 19th, but this is not a limiting factor. The list is still open, and open for 2. We can still identify more as a stakeholders. We can still come out with more, you can suggest for more intervention that is required, and also add feedback and other policy intervention which is required for this 19 interventions also. Thank you.
Thank you, Edison. Before we close, let me have some, at least, otherwise everyone, maybe we will be detaining them before going for lunch. So before that, let me ask 1 or 2 questions to our panelists. Sorry. With increasing focus on sustainability, how can green logistic and ESG compliance be seen as value creator not just obligations. Sir, if you can say a few words on that.
Well, thank you, Ashish Babu. I thought, we would have a panel discussion and it would have been more to draw out questions, but then it is inescapable to not concentrate on ESG as your focus for driving every aspect of the port. Devikaji mentioned about the green bonds. See, the major ports are still not branded or evaluated on an ESG index. It's one thing to talk about taking the path towards sustainability, and the other thing is to measure it and measure it on market indices. Just the way, so today, all the non-major ports, for their own raising of monies, going to the international and domestic markets, have to be benchmarked on certain standards. So the recommendation as a part of the NAVIC scale, and I want Chairman Paradip Port to specifically note, it should be that you have to be ESG mandated and benchmarked. It's one thing to say that I am going green on the shipping. Strictly speaking, the major ports are not talking about a fuel supply, whether it is hydrogen or ammonia, and they are at a very, very nascent stage. Except just 2 shipping lines in the world, maybe Maersk and ONE. It's we are still discovering the economics and cost. But what is necessary on ESG? The parameters of environment contours, the S parameter, which talks about things like occupational health, safety, and human rights. On the G parameter, which is talking about biodiversity, including transactions regarding bribery, corruption. So ESG is a very sweeping mandate. And for on our part on APSEZ, I can tell you, we follow the UN mandated SDG goals, the Task Force on Climate Financial Disclosure, TCFD, and international sustainability boards. We all have to be benchmarked. If you are not, one of the things would be, those of you who have bought shares, I don't buy shares of Adani as a matter of principle, those of you will see your shares crashing if you were not to be ESG mandated, or if the ESG mandates were to go a little awry. So sustainability is about a certain benchmarking. I'll pause if you have a question on that. It's not restricting to just going for an afforestation. It's about, they talk about Dow Jones. They talk about all the international rating agencies on ESG have to be mandated and inescapable if you want to become a part of the world supply chain. So when you come for a supply chain, they are not going to say that, hey, this is coming from a non-major port, this is a major port, this is Dow Jones indexed, this is not Dow Jones indexed. We will be left out. I think the talk about major and non-major, to my mind, it's very silly to talk of it in this age today. There is time now to talk of the maritime sector of the country at large. If the NAVIC scale does not get into non-major ports, it will be restricted. This is something that I have been pleading, and this is my view when I worked in the major ports. This is my view even today. Look at the maritime sector as a composite whole. Introduce standards of efficiency and benchmarking for ESG and sustainability which are cutting across. It's not that because JSW or APSEZ, or for that matter Tata Steel or the shipping wing of Tata Steel, because you are publicly listed, that you have to meet the indices. A time will come as a part of corporatization. Next step towards from major port trust to PPA, next step could be you could be going for market listing. The moment you're market listed, the entire dynamics of what you are looking at will rapidly and dramatically change. What is the preparation of the major ports towards that path? I'll pause and say that sustainability is, part of our process today. It's not just restricted into, so the E part is, we are just talking with it. The S and G comes out of the SDG goals, which India is a signatory, and you have to get complied to that.
Thank you. Shantanu, I believe, as we all know, that Tata Steel is carrying out a lot of, they have taken a lot of initiative. Even, I believe, for booking your cargo, you are mandating the shipping lines to be green. And in that context, What KPI should port or logistic operation track beyond tonnage handled? For example, service quality, carbon footprint, or digital visibility.
Yeah, so on sustainability, like we said, the Tata Steel Group has an aim or a goal to become carbon neutral by 2045. And it's not that we have just set a goal of 2045. We have subsequent milestones like what we do today to achieve carbon neutrality in 2045. So as you may be aware that at Dhamra port, we brought the first LNG powered Cape vessel in India. And now we are regularly bringing these LNG powered Cape vessels. In terms of road transport also, in Tata Steel today, just to give you a quantum of numbers, we deploy 8,000 trucks every day for various kinds of movement, be it raw material, be it finished steel. And all our contracts today are mandated to keep 20% for green movement. So as we stand today, the numbers are not very large. We have deployed about 800 trucks on a daily basis, which are green, be it electric, EV or LNG. And whenever we do a contracting, we keep 20% share of business for those players who will come in for green movement. So various kinds of initiatives are being taken. We have been driving in the port sector for the last couple of years without much headway to provide shore power to the vessels while they are discharging. But we could not make much headway there. We have been driving for it. Just imagine the amount of fuel which is used when the vessels are at berth. If we are able to provide shore power, it will be a great initiative.
You know, Ashish Babu, I just want to add, you know, a lot of talk about carbon neutrality, you know. In APSEZ, we no longer, and I've been talking to Ministry of Shipping, it's not about neutrality, we will achieve it. It's about net zero, where India is a signatory by 2070. If you roll back, we in APSEZ, we want to be net zero by 2040, and carbon neutral certainly by 2030, you know, we're certainly going to achieve that. Every power fed into APSEZ ports today is green power. Every power. Of course, at every particular location we can't have, so we have to have wheeling, and from Khavda, where nearly 5 gigawatts of solar and hybrid power have been installed, and all the equipments in APSEZ are entirely electric today. There was talk about the terminals getting 100 EV trucks tomorrow in JNPT. We introduced EV in 21 in Mundra. Entire Katupalli is run by EV. So these are things that needs to be, you know, speed and scale have to come up. Once you have a benchmark, learn and catch up. So there are multiple examples which must be kind of infiltrated between the major and non-major ports. As you correctly said, major ports are institutionalized. Multiple things to learn and benchmark. Non-major ports have taken the thrift. What have they done on certain aspects? So now it's not the question of compete, it's complement. I like the word which you use, and it is one of my favorite terms when people ask me, how do you evaluate your experience in Paradeep and Dhamra? I said, we complement. If Dhamra goes, Paradeep grows. If Paradeep grows, Dhamra goes. Because you become a net attractor of cargo into this coastline, which is just 50 nautical miles apart. And that's my similar view for Haldia, you know, where we can play a role of anchor and tenant relationship. So, as I said, ESG would be net zero, biodiversity, zero landfill, water practices, and safety accidents. So, you know, as much about we may tend to hide, international community and your people who participate are watching you extremely carefully with lens, extremely carefully. So when we had this opportunity about, you know, I've been talking with Tata Steel and Shantanuji about shore power. To promote LNG vessels, we had to make it concessional for them. And I think it's very wonderful. That's how you kind of share the responsibility in the reward and risk of it. Going ahead, shore power must be mandated and it must be shared. So certainly if Tata Steel brings a vessel and we can provide, incidentally all the tugs that we run in the ports are entirely on shore power. For the ships that we provide shore power, which is a necessity, we can do that, but it has to be a mutual responsibility. That means the capital which comes out of it, certain amount of concessions won't come. Tata Steel is very welcome to that idea. We are going ahead with most of the ports to do that. So these are the things that we learn and help each other to grow. Yeah.
So I will pause here regarding my questions. Let me have one or two questions from the audience for the panelists, if we have any questions.
The question on top of everybody's mind is, when are you breaking for lunch?
Anyone? Otherwise, we will not wait. I would rather ask both of you, where we see, considering this value as we discussed from volume to value, the single most important change, whether technological or operational or policy related, that will help us move from volume to value in next 5 years?
See, none of them stand in isolation. You know, it's an infusion in equal measure of policy support. Such policy, you know, as I said, the 91 moment is back with us. So the spurt for policy changes, one of the things for concession agreements, you know, we were looking at Mundra. I'll tell you a personal example, and Mundra concession runs until 2031. By 2021, I found an hesitation in putting in capital for the growth of Mundra, and we thought at about 250 million tons, we have done it. You know, there was a lot of hesitation. Now, as a practitioner of the maritime community, and here, I mean, I say I am a practitioner of the maritime community, and my loyalty is to the community larger than to a major or a non-major port. I'm very clear on that. I said, why would capital infusion be stopped just because? Because there's a hesitation, because how would I then infuse capital in the last 5 years and get the return back and then and then even the departure, there is no clear departure as to what happens at the end of a concession period. And these are important things for India, because both in all the sectors, we haven't met a conclusion of any concession agreement. JNPT and Pipavav Port come up in 27, probably they'll be rolled over. How do you roll over without you know, inviting conflicting opinions from stakeholders that you haven't favored somebody? So we worked on that. And it is my great pleasure to tell you, people say that some states are very hesitant in doing. You know, the key to getting a longer concession agreement did not come from the so-called forward-looking states. It came from Bengal. We were doing a presentation for Tajpur Port, and I argued very strongly, and I'm very, very glad to tell you, that the entire administration of the Bengal administration were open and receptive to the idea that all I appealed is that if land is given for a 99-year, please make a concession co-terminus, so that I have a security and a longer margin to understand what happens in a cycle. It goes through at least 7, 8 infusion cycles, or at least 6 cycles of capital infusion and recovery. Considering that major ports, I mean, all the ports, despite being a service sector, are extremely heavy in investment. So when you look at a capital investment, the key was opened from Tajpur, where we got a 99-year concession. We took that as a convention, and today, in all the state governments, they have recognized. Maharashtra has come out with 75 years. Tamil Nadu is considering 99 years. Andhra is considering 99 years. Odisha itself. So we wrote to all the state governments asking to evaluate and give longer concession. In the major ports, concessions are today for 50 years, and they can be rolled over in 2 cycles for about 10 years each, if I am correct. If they were 30 and rolled over. 30 and 30. So you had a long concession period on a pattern to evaluate and do so. So policy infusion is that. Now, when you talk about this, embrace technology, because it is your sine qua non of your life today. You know, technology, you know, is just a simple mobile. I look at the example, an illiterate person in India today is illiterate in the 3 R's, not illiterate on a mobile. Those who have not gone to school can type a message and see the power what technology does to them. So embrace technology. When you say embrace technology, technology and digitalization are parts of the same coin today. If you are looking, we have large language models and the kind of changes we are doing in ITUP, Integrated Transport Utility Platform, which means you have one site across the world to track your cargo, trace your cargo, and financially deal with it. When we were talking about one nation, one, I was surprised that why are you not taking it? It's not one nation. It's one cargo transit. Today, shipping lines give you one bill of lading, which is picked up from an ICD into, let us say, if you're exporting to right up to. So from first mile to last mile, one documentation through a technology platform, digitalized for so digitalization has to be embraced. So technology, digitalization, policy have to go hand in hand. When you have a right combination, and I think we are discovering it correctly, I think you give a lot of support to the industry to go ahead in that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Would you like to add?
Yeah, so I would like to add a little bit more on sustainability, what is being done by Tata Steel. So while I mentioned on the logistics front what we are doing, like Subratji mentioned, in fact, both of us were there in the Ahmedabad office when we brought up this proposal of getting LNG vessels, and we requested the Adani Group senior management that it comes at a cost. The cost differential was almost $1 per ton. So you can imagine. And they readily shared this cost differential. So first few vessels, not few, all the vessels which we have brought, we were given a concession on the VRC. So they shared part of the burden was shared by us, and we made the first steps towards LNG vessels coming into India. In terms of manufacturing also, I would just like to appraise the house here that all our blast furnaces in Europe have been shut down. So the traditional way of using coal for steel, iron making and steel making, we have shut down all our blast furnaces, and in the next 3 years, we will be putting up new electric arc furnaces so that we take steps towards sustainability. As we speak today, in Ludhiana, we are building up a 1 million ton plant, which is completely on the electric arc furnace route. Tata Steel has been the first steel producer in the world to do trials with hydrogen for making iron and steel. So although on a cost viability, it is not there today because the cost of getting hydrogen is very, very high. But the trials have been done and it has been successful. And it's a matter of time when we will find solutions of getting cheaper hydrogen and use hydrogen as a fuel. So a lot of things are happening on the sustainability front.
Thank you. So as we discussed, from volume to value, this is the journey that will define the future of cargo and traffic operation. On behalf of Paradip Port, I sincerely thank our panelists for their insights and audience for their engagement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, panelists, for sharing their thoughts and experience with us. Thank you, esteemed moderator, for handling this session so well. May I request esteemed CME, PPA Shri Sushil Nahak ji to please join us on stage and present tokens of gratitude to the panelists and the moderator. Can we have a round of applause for this absolutely thought-provoking session? Panel discussions like this will lead to best practices, better technologies, and a glorious future. May I request Shri Nahak to present a token of gratitude to our moderator, Shri A.K. Bose, Angavastra, and to Shri Subhatrapati. It's great to have the presence of such esteemed dignitaries who share their knowledge with us, and through their experiences, we promise to learn. May I request Shri Nahak to also present token of gratitude to our special guest, Shri Shantanu Verma ji. Thank you so much, all the esteemed panelists, for joining us on this session. May I request esteemed CPPA Shri Himanshu Sekhar Raut ji to also join us on stage and present token of gratitude to dignitaries on dais, please. Shri Himanshu Sekhar Raut. Thank you, esteemed CME Shri Sushil Nahak. May I request Shri Raut to present token of gratitude to Shri G. Edison, esteemed Traffic Manager PPA. The day so far has been so gripping, vivid, and full of information and insight. We cannot thank each speaker, each dignitary enough for joining us and making this day so special for the host team. Can we have a louder round of applause for all the sessions we have had since morning? Thank you so much. Thank you very much, panel, for this absolutely brilliant session. Can we have a group photograph, please? We would love to capture moments that are truly special, that will be etched in our hearts forever when we talk about endeavors like this and its success through people who join and share their insights with us. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you once again, moderator and panelists. And to present a vote of thanks for the pre-lunch session, may I request Shri Pankaj Lochan Mohanty, esteemed Chairman, Ashisham, Odisha State Development Council, to please join us on stage.
Chairman, Paradip Port Trust. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dignitaries of the dais. On behalf of ASSOCHAM and organizing committee of India Maritime Week, it is my privilege to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all of you for your presence and active participation at the Bhubaneswar Roadshow. It was a wonderful and enriching presentation on India Maritime Week. We request all the stakeholders to take part in India Maritime Week 2025 in Mumbai and let us make it a grand success. I also request stakeholders to exhibit and sponsor, as it is a great networking platform where you will get an opportunity to interact with domestic and international players in shipping, ports and maritime sector, thus creating immense value and benefit for business. Our deliberations today under the theme Navigating the Shift of Indian Maritime Sector from Volume to Vision have shed light on the remarkable transformation underway in India's maritime sector. We are moving beyond the scale of operation to embrace efficiency, sustainability and long-term vision in line with the Maritime India Vision 2030 and the Maritime Amritkal Vision 2047. The two panel discussions being held today enrich this dialogue further. The first on driving efficiency and capacity growth in cargo and traffic operations in the port sector from volume to value, emphasizes the urgent need to enhance operational excellence, modernization, infrastructure and attract investment to unlock the full potential of eastern ports, including those in Odisha. These insights are especially relevant for Bhubaneswar, as the state continues to emerge as a hub for cargo handling and maritime trade. The second panel, Digital Pathway, Smart Ports, Leveraging IT and E-Governance for Maritime Excellence, highlighting how digital transformation smart port solutions and governance reforms will be key enabler in strengthening efficiency, transparency, and competitiveness. For Bhubaneswar and the broader Orissa maritime ecosystem, these initiatives will play a vital role in boosting connectivity, creating jobs, and integrating the region into global supply chains. I would like to sincerely thank our distinguished speakers, industry leaders, policymakers, and stakeholders for sharing their valuable perspectives. Your contributions today have not only enriched the discussion but also reinforced the shared vision of positioning India and particularly Orissa as a driving force in the global maritime space. My special gratitude goes to the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways for the continued guidance and to our partners and participants for their wholehearted support in making this roadshow a success. Lastly, a heartfelt thanks to the Paradip Port Authorities, NAVIC Cell Number 12, ASSOCHAM team and all those working tirelessly behind the scene to make today's forum possible. With such collaboration and foresight, I am confident that the maritime sector will continue to be a catalyst for growth, not just for India as a whole, but also for the maritime economy of Bhubaneswar and Orissa. Thank you once again, and we look forward to your continued support and participation at India Maritime Week 2025. Thank you all. Bande Utkal Janani, Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Shri Mohanty. May I request esteemed Deputy Chairman in charge, Captain A.C. Sahu, to please join us on stage and present a small token of gratitude to Shri Pankaj Lochan Mohanty, esteemed Chairman, ASSOCHAM, Orissa State Development Council, for proposing vote of thanks. The association of every organization that makes this day and IMW 2025 a bright and absolutely thoughtful initiative is appreciated. And it is these men and women of experience and virtue that makes initiatives this big, this bright and beautiful. Thank you so much, Mohanty. And thank you, Captain Sahu, for doing the honor. Ladies and gentlemen, let's break for lunch. Enjoy the mouth-watering platter of food, specially chosen for you all by the host team. And let's reassemble at 3 to take the day forward. Thank you. Happy lunching.